fellas, what is this? How many years in the making is this? It was 2023. You guys had a podcast, and I'm like, let's do a crossover episode. And you guys are like, give us a few more episodes. Let's gain a little bit of steam.
I think since then we've only done a few more episodes, so don't worry about it.
You go, and here we are, 3 years later, but a few episodes later, and we're ready. We're warmed up. Good. Well, first off, welcome onto the show. There's a shitload to talk about. Rondell, you're finally going to IPF Worlds. It's finally going to the IPF Worlds. We've been waiting for this moment for so flippin' long, and here it is. First off, how do you feel about knowing, holy shit, this is actually going to happen? Can you even allow yourself to believe that until you show up at the venue? Or you think there could be a late, last-minute email that you're going to open up?
Yeah, honestly, I think I'm scarred at this point.
Yeah, we all are.
Obviously, I know, okay, I'm on the national team, I'm supposed to be the pick to go to Worlds, but I think until I see my name on the nominations and I am on the way there, I would just be I know I'm gonna compete, but at the same time, it's I don't know, I can't get truly excited about it.
I take it that way. Last time they postponed nationals, I called Ron expecting him to be down. He's like, bro, what are we another one? Let's do it.
Dog, you're saying when you're on the way there, I'm gonna take you a step further. I need you to land. I need you to go through fucking security and customs. I need you to go through weigh-ins. I'm not convinced until I see singlet on you, Playboy, chalk on your back, in your hands, and you're warming up. Then I'm like, all right, I'm gonna be in the commentary booth. I'll be, hang on a second. Let me make sure my man is in the back right now, and this is actually going to happen. I don't believe it. But so yeah, okay. I don't blame you for all of that. You probably are kind of half in, half out at this point. Yeah. How about this? Nonso and Bobb Matthews, neither one of them are going to be there. Both of them are the biggest threats you could possibly have are those two. Yeah. And you're going to be the favorite going in. Now, Bobb Matthews never shied away from saying he's going to be the favorite. I got to make him honest. And Nonso is hoping to become the next Bobb Matthews in time because he's a young guy. But neither one of them are there. How does that affect you, if at all?
It does not affect much. I guess in my mind, it would only affect the goal total that I might be going in for. Might affect it to some extent. It does to some extent affect how I feel about the competition, because for me, even though I have wanted to come back to the IPF and compete in the IPF and win a world championship, it wasn't more so about winning a world championship. It was just about definitively being the best lifter in the 120s, period. And one of the reasons why I left the USAPL, but obviously because Trinidad, became legitimate again and everything like that. But one of the reasons why I left the USAPL is because everybody left. And I was I can't call myself the best if I compete in the USAPL and nobody else competes here, So yeah. It affects how I feel about the competition, because when I win, although I already know that I have been the best 120 for so long, it would just be damn. I wish everybody was here and I beat everybody at the same time, and then nobody could say anything, at least for that period of time, So, yeah.
True, but you did put up 10:45. Everyone knows you're you were, you need a world title. A world title would be nice. You did 10:45 already. I don't know if is this still contentious, you think?
Damn, that dots versus championships really comes into play, huh?
Yeah,
you put it up, bro. You know what I mean?
It's early. It's early.
It is. My bad. Jump in the gun.
Buy me dinner. Buy me exactly. Yeah. First time on, you get a little.
Yeah, that's right. Says it all.
That's right.
Wrong.
But does it mean something to you to be win a world title? Because you haven't done that either in the Open.
Yeah. I don't know if it would mean anything to me. I have to win one to see, to be honest. Because I just want to be the best. That's why I started powerlifting. It's just to prove that I'm the best and the strongest. And if winning a world title means that, if winning Sheffield means that. I think winning Sheffield would mean more to me than winning a world title, to be honest, because winning Sheffield would be like I'm the best of the best, at least again for that time. So I don't know. Ask me again after Wolves, and I'll let
Mm.
you know how much it means.
Let me phrase it this way. In 30 years, when you look back, do you think it's the world title that's going to stand out the most? Or do you think it's Sheffield? Or do you think it's 1045?
Well, it won't be 10:45 because I'm gonna pass that.
Let's say you
But
never do, for the sake of argument. Let's say you
yeah,
never passed 1045 and you did 1045 at a local meet USAPL
yeah.
and you won a world title and you win Sheffield with less than 1045.
hmm
30 years from now, what'll mean most to you?
So if by then, like the weight class is so far ahead of that, like let's say like okay, 1100
That's
is like
guaranteed. That's guaranteed. That's
damn,
all
that's
but
crazy.
guaranteed, Playboy. Let's be honest here. What
Yeah,
kind, what
okay.
kind of a legend do you think you are? You think 30 years from now they won't surpass what you did? Slow down. Slow down, Rondell. I love you, dog, but that was crazy. That's crazy work right there. Who do you think you are?
No, okay.
you,
So
you had to ask that like it was a question.
no, I guess it's not about surpassing it because obviously like someone will surpass it within the next couple of years, right? Like that
Yes.
makes sense. But like would it be like okay, this is the baseline, like to be like top 20 you need like 1050. If that's the case, then I guess I would look back on the championships with more like I guess like I would feel like more proud of those. But if it's like yo, like 10:45 is still like like a top five total, I'll be like damn, I was ahead of my time. So I don't know, it depends on how it ages.
Sure. But you're almost guaranteed it's not going to age like. Usually these records don't age amazingly. Some of them hang on. 30
That is
years is a
20 years.
long 30 years is a
That is
long
20
time.
years. That is
30
20
years
years.
is a long time. But we'll see. Because guys like Bob are 10-10 already, but we'll see. All right, fair enough. One thing that this does help you without having Bob and Nonso there, if you like Sheffield and you're a Sheffield guy, this has got to help your Sheffield chances, no?
Yeah, for sure, for sure.
Like, are you paying attention to all the other 120s beyond Bob and Nonso?
Yeah, I'm very like detailed and like paying attention to everyone. Like I watch the 120s at Canada, I watch the 120s in the States, I watch the 120s at Euros.
And you
Um
saw ETN win, obviously,
yeah, yeah, I saw that. That was cool.
in
That was cool.
Sheffield. So, what do you think wins the World Championships this year for you?
Um so I was a little disappointed last year when like what was it, 962.51?
Something like
That was
that.
crazy.
Yeah.
Because everybody was like talking about like, yeah, 1,000. Like, I think the podium might be over 1,000, and then it was 962.5. That was crazy. So I don't know what they're gonna do or if they're gonna pass 1,000, but I think that I will come in at least 10-15 on like a second deadlift, and then if I'm not gonna need more, but if I want more, I'll probably take more, and then if not, I'll probably just leave it at like 10-15. So I think
Hey,
I think 10-15.
you got to slow down, man. I don't think you need 10-15. I
I don't
don't
think so.
think.
I don't want to
I don't think so.
divulge any plans because Ron and I have talked about this in
Okay.
depth. But with everybody there, that's the thing that I was going to ask is if those two people being there changes that because Ron was not pulling any punches going into Worlds. He wasn't looking for the maybe 1100. We're talking crazy, crazy high stuff. But he was not looking to take down Worlds and do the chip it by a half to really leave the Sheffield there. Maybe now that those two guys aren't there, does that
Hmm.
change that in the slightest? Like maybe really comfortably leaving it around 10-15? Because I mean, we can play hypotheticals at 10:45 being the best you ever hit, all day long. We obviously know that's not the case with what's going on with training lifts with the world record that was just hitting bench only 937 still on the table in training to standard, knowing what's going on with the squat and you finally being able to train it. Does that change that in the slightest for you? You being comfortably, slightly more comfortable leaving some keys on the table for Sheffield, or no?
Um, so the thing is, like, my biggest thing is that like I don't want to get caught with my pants down. Like what happened to Russ, essentially coming into like his world championship after coming over from the USAPL. Like I don't want to come in thinking like, bro, these guys ain't coming up over 1,000, and then like I pace incorrectly, and then like all of a sudden it's like, yo, you need to pull 420 or what you gonna do?
Yeah,
I was
like,
like, what?
what
You know,
the?
like exactly.
Fair,
That was
very
crazy.
fair.
So yeah,
And you know what? You've waited so long. You're like, guys, I can't fuck around. Okay, please. This took me 5 years to get here. I can't sleep on this. That's fair. You're already rattled as shit. This is the last thing you need.
8 years now.
Yeah,
it's really weird.
yeah,
8 years, bro. Like, Jesus.
yeah. Enough's enough. That's fair enough. You might even look at it then with your opener, not hit your second, and only come out for your third if you need to come out for your third. Be like, all right, fuck you. Force my hand, I'll come out for my third. But you might clinch it with your opener at like a G.
Yeah.
And then,
It depends, yeah.
That'd be
It
awesome.
depends on like how bold people are feeling as well, because it's like the tough thing is this, right? So I was thinking, let's say like, okay, opener deadlift is like I don't know, 365. So like 804, and I hit 1,000 off of that, right? Which I could hit more than 1,000 off of that, but let's say I hit 1,000 off of that. And then let's say Etienne does 1,000.5 with like a 400 kg deadlift. And then I have to come out with like 400.5 or 2.5 or something like that. That's gonna take my total from 365 to 36. What's the difference between 365 and 400? 35 keys. That's 1035. So it's like if I try to pace too low, I might end up having to like jump way higher versus like,
yeah.
so
And 10-15 is like that safe spot where no matter what, if anybody has their best day, that's above there.
yeah.
I think honestly, might not need 10, 15, but yeah, true. I don't know.
Keep that nice and safe.
Yeah, I know. Fuck, we can't play around. If you're like a 3-time world champ, and it's like, all right, relax. You've won. You've done this a billion times. But if this is like, dude, we cannot take any chances. This is it. It would be catastrophic to avoid it this long and be a little too conservative. And ETN or someone else is like, oh shit, son, this is about to happen. I'm about to clap Rondell. After all these years, I'm gonna be a legend. This is crazy.
Yeah, no.
It would be
No
crazy.
way, man. No
Fair
way.
enough, you can't let it happen. How are you feeling? Because for a hot minute there, you're talking about some injuries, and are you 100% now? Are you going to be 100% for Worlds?
I'll be 100% for Wills. Right now, surprisingly, so squat is fine, deadlift is fine. Training for those has been good. But surprisingly, the thing that's bothering me is my elbow on bench. So it's like bench,
Elbow.
Since
yeah,
when? What?
since like 2 weeks ago. Yeah.
I didn't know that. Jesus.
Yeah, so that's been annoying, but like I'm still like training bench, but not like to the intensity that I want. But it's getting better. So
Do
I
you
would
think
say,
it's you picking the scab on squat? Like, do you notice it on squat?
no, I don't know.
Damn. Okay. All right.
Hmm.
Yeah, but I guess that's a good sign, right? Because it's not that
Yeah.
sensitive. Yeah.
I was gonna
So
say. All right.
um, yeah, I think within the next couple of weeks, I should be back up to 100% and like just yeah, flying going into Wales. So.
So you're thinking, so you 100% as in like 1045, we've seen you previously? Or is this a new 100% that we've never seen in because you've evolved yourself?
Yeah, I think at 100% right now, I could be over 1045 because at nationals I did 1025, and that was me like what 3 4 weeks of squatting.
Hmm.
Bench was amazing because I was just coming off of like bench and MPF, and then deadlift was like 6 weeks of deadlift, and that was 1025, and I narrowly missed 1047.5. So and I weighed in light and stuff like that. So like at 100% now, I would be at least like 1065, 1070. So yeah.
How much of a threat do you perceive Bobb Matthews? We all had a little bit of fun with him doing 1010.5. It gave us a storyline for 2025. But at this point, when you saw that and you see Bob, how much are you telling yourself, I gotta watch myself against this guy?
Yeah. I mean, so I was thinking about this, right? Like So he did 10-10, right? Point five, which was cool, you know, RP10 basically on everything. And that was nice, but to me it's like if it is okay, that's your limit, and then shortly after that, like you out of it, you can't compete. It's like, damn, like that's like that's like you're here, and that's like my hey, we need you to compete in 4 weeks. Could you do it? All right, cool. So if that's what we compare, and then because just the block before I did 10-10, I did 10:45 in training with the 425 deadlift. So I don't know, like Bob, and the thing is, Bob's fans are like the most like charged fan base in
They're
powerlifting.
awesome. They're
Bro,
culty. It's awesome.
Dog, I'm a Bob fan.
We're all Bob fans.
Yeah.
They're the best.
I'm a Bob fan too, right?
Yeah.
But the thing is, like, Bob's fans have rabies, bro. Like,
You
literally,
you can't be a Bob fan. You're not allowed. But
there's
keep going.
there's somebody on Instagram named ssjbob.fan, and
Jesus Christ.
he starts all of his videos with like a montage of why Bob is better than me. Like,
What?
I swear, the first 15 seconds is a montage of why Bob is better than me, and
Dude.
then he shows his lips. Bro, I swear. So, and yeah, so his fans were like always like say like, oh, like he's catching up, he's right there, like and he is getting stronger for sure, but
He is getting stronger, yeah.
he is. But I just want to compete against him to really like showcase like this is not what we thought it was.
Dude, like, put it this way though. How much better is it that he's around? If he wasn't around, who do you got?
No, that's the thing. I love the fact that he's
Yeah.
around, like, bro.
Yeah, for sure.
Bob is one of the reasons why like so many people would like watch my YouTube videos
100%.
because Bob's fans watch my YouTube videos to hate. So it's like I love that because it's like So I always say like I need to go to New York and just like train with Bob for like a month. Like
Nah,
me
that'd
and
kill it. No,
yeah,
that'd
me
kill
and
it. No. That'll kill
It
everything.
would.
No,
It
I
would.
know.
No,
But you don't want to do that.
The beef.
But it would kill the beef, and it would also like be too much of a direct comparison. And you need people to be like, you don't know the answer to this question until we show up, and wherever you show up is going to be crazy. Now I'm getting sick to my stomach. We're going to wait till 2027 now, I guess, because you got Worlds in Sheffield. All due respect to the 120s, probably Sheffield.
Yeah.
I should probably say probably Worlds at this point until we see you there, but.
Yeah.
You're going to be busy all the rest of 2026, right?
Yeah, I will be. Yeah.
Dog, it's not till 2027. We got a hot minute to wait.
But I think on our podcast with Bob, you did say that the more time that he has is the better for him, right?
For him.
Yeah.
And let me say something else. If he could get himself ready to lift before Sheffield in November, you already know what he's got to do. He's got to be 10:15.5. If that's what you win Worlds with, he's got to. Just
He can do that. Bob can do that.
Just like
Bob
give
lives
himself
in 10:15.
give himself 2 weeks to drop a fucking fire video just to talk some shit. I'll have him on King of Lifts. That guy who you just mentioned earlier, his one fan is gonna go crazy. He's gonna be like and he'll be like, all right, soak it up for 2 fucking weeks. Sheffield's coming up, and you just drop a hammer in Sheffield. I don't know. We'll see. But it's a talking point. Because if Bob wasn't around and you have a huge spread on everybody in the world, I mean, what are we doing? You just, there's no real major talking points. But I'm glad to hear you 100%. And you will for sure drop the hammer at Sheffield.
For sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
For sure.
And how do you like your chances at Sheffield, given the fact that Bob and Nonso won't be there? Because, yeah, you go ahead.
Yeah, Bob and Nonso, like for Worlds, they would like factor in to some extent, but for Sheffield, that would be the last thing on my mind is like, oh, these are the 120s. At Sheffield, I would be thinking about like, Perk, Kjell, probably Joe Bornstein,
Well,
since he
I just mean that they would have like Bob would have forced your total to maybe be heavier than you would have liked at
Oh
Worlds
yeah, yeah, yeah,
to
yeah,
affect what you have to do at Sheffield. Now that
yeah.
he's not there to force any totals, I mean, I don't blame you for playing a super duper safe
Yeah.
and
Like
doing.
I almost want to like play it to like, could I win two Sheffields off of like my current strength? Like, could I do like a 1,005, for example, at Wolves, then go like 1035 at Sheffield, win with that, and then come in with like the subsequent Sheffield. Okay, now we need 1070, 1080 or whatever.
Maybe,
Yeah.
maybe depends what you win Worlds with, man.
Has anyone ever won Sheffield conservatively?
Agata,
Yeah, I was about to say.
Agata. Her name is
But
Agata Shitko.
she didn't have an opportunity to come back in, whatever it is, a few months later with these two Sheffields being so close and put up something significantly more maximal and just sweep. Um,
But she did win two back-to-back Sheffields.
yeah,
Yeah,
I mean, she's
she's a
Agatha.
monster, man.
Agatha.
She's a fucking monster, man. But you're a
Hmm.
bit of a monster yourself, Playboy.
Hmm.
You think about it. You think about that when you're in the warm-up room for Worlds, but I got a feeling I don't blame you if you're like, nah, kill that. I can't take any chances. I'm dropping the hammer on these fellas. Unless, yeah. Unless you like less, their subtotal is way lower going into deadlifts. And and you're like, okay, what is their top end deadlift? And you add that onto their subtotal and you're like, okay, that's what we're going to do. And it's sub 1,000. Then you
Yeah,
really start making decisions after that.
for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, we'll see. But I'm glad you're there. All right. Shall we get into? I got a bunch of questions here. John Haack just competed. John Haack moved back up to the 100 kilogram weight class. Now he posted up at what comp is this? He did at Clash of Titans 4. He did 10:15, and he said in his caption, "Good tuna." Came back and did 10:12.5. Do we know what's going on with John Haack here?
Yeah, he's taking bigger shots. That's all. You just watch this guy come in. I think you mentioned earlier that when he was in this class, I think is when he hit the 601 bench
Yeah.
for the first day. It was a missed weight, right? He wasn't like intentionally coming in at 220. He was like, all right, I'm going to cut. I'm going to stop cutting. This gets too aggressive, whatever, and hit 601. But that's not a true John Haack at 220, right? With attempt selection base, and we're talking 24-hour weigh-ins here, right? Is super different. Where if we were talking 220 versus 198, and which doesn't exist, but 93s versus 105s on a 2-hour weigh-in, we're talking about a massive difference in platform weight, right? We can expect like a very, very big difference. But with the cuts and the recomps, more so outside of just being able to obviously bump lifts, especially on the subtotal, we're almost talking about how much benefit do you get from foregoing trauma of those big, big cuts and those big, big recomps, which is legitimate. But I know that John is not walking around right now at 240 cutting to 220 the same way he was 220 cutting to 198 and then coming back up to 220-ish. His platform weight isn't crazy different. But if you saw that 830 squat, I think it was 830 on the dot, which is like some chip weird thing. Maybe it was 828. I don't know. I gotta look. That was obnoxious. Like we were looking at a 400 kilo squat in the 220. We were looking at his 4 times body weight squat in 198 carrying perfectly over to this. The bench is what you'd expect to really come back like crazy, which I know it didn't here, but if you watch him in the animal cage, whatever, which is not the same thing, obviously. But John is a guy where his training lifts do pretty well reflect what he's capable of on the platform. And those training lifts leading into these meets where his bench wasn't back after strongman were very indicative of exactly what was happening on the platform. And he put up a nice 584 at this animal cage. His bench is at least coming back. It's on the rise. And that pull, I think it looked pretty good. And then what popped out of his hands around it was
At
916.
grip strength, yeah, at the top.
Yeah. So I don't think he's not pushing anything like crazy. It's not like he's getting that bear paw effect where like it's crazy. It could have just been that on the day thing. But overall, the subtotal is certainly on the up and up. The bench is coming back to where it was. The squat is in a place it's never been. It's like disgusting. Like this dude, he's going to squat 400 kilos. And if you're talking about a 400 kilo squat, 6+ bench, and a mid nines pull at 220, we're talking about one of the most egregious feats of strength, a very John Hack-esque feat of strength that's super cool when you actually think about the reality that he is not that much heavier on the platform, that this is mostly the effect of being able to train fuller, not go, through a crazy, crazy cut and recomp. And then it's like, what the hell happens if John goes 242 one day and actually puts on some pounds? Where does this go? That's
Do
what,
you,
in my opinion, is going on.
do you think he's going to gain body weight and still stay in the 100 kilo, 220 weight class, and then just gain strength and see that total? Like, where do you think John will be inside of 2026? His total. He leaves 2026. What is his total he posted up?
Let me do some math here, because I'm serious. I think, you saw the squat, obviously.
I saw the squat, yeah.
Okay, like that is an opener, right? Like he'd miss it on depth, which was close to some, super high bar. Things get crazy, but speed wise, strength wise, and the fact that it wasn't crazy miss on depth, right? Like he still did partially abduct into the hole. It wasn't like, oh, of course it moved fast. He was 3 inches above parallel. It was a hairline kind of thing. That is the type of squat you look at and you're like, wow, you have about 20 keys there, at least, But let's be conservative. We'll give him 859, let's say, probably the biggest shot that he would responsibly call. I don't think he's going to be taking anything in training between this that's going to justify him just going 400. Let's do it. He's a smart competitor. Max, I think 601, but let's be conservative here again. He just put up 584. I know he would love to put up 584 again in comp. Let's say 589 if he gets 2 meets in before the end of the year. And let's say he doesn't put much on the poll. Let's just say he matches the poll at 939, right? Which is what he's done.
What squat are you? Sorry?
That's 2387.
What's that in kilos?
1082 and a half.
1082. Holy, what's the kilos in squat you gave him?
Here, 380. 370.
370. Okay. Because his third attempt was his third attempt was 377.5. So you're shaving off a little bit off that top end squat.
No. Wait a minute. No. My bad. 390.
You giving him the squat that he
390.
Oh.
I should know that. I pulled that.
859.
Yeah, 390. 859.
Okay.
Is what I gave him on the squat. Based off of that. If you don't think he's got 12 and a half-ish on that, just hit to depth, strength-wise, right? It's execution. Things happen.
He's got the rest of the year as well. We're giving the rest of the year in this.
And we're not talking about your average untested guy here that's unhealthy. We're talking about a guy that clips together meets more frequently than tested guys are forced to, irresponsibly forced to. He is everywhere all the time. He is just a dog competitor like that. Somebody that speaks with his actions, right? Which is increasingly less popular nowadays. There's a lot of talky talk going on. But John continuously closes his mouth and just does exactly what he's supposed to do. He has the strength to do that right now, in my opinion. And over the course of the next 3 or 4 meets that he gets in over the course of 2026, one of them, he is bound to execute that properly. You got a 390 squat, you got a 265, 270-ish bench, and you have a 420-ish pull. What are we talking at 220? It's the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard in my life.
Does he exit 2026 as the pound for pound king in the untested side?
Yeah.
So this is the tough. All
right. See, now this gets hard.
Right.
Because I need to put in the dots for Colton, right? And Colton has obviously yet to execute it in sleeves, right? Colton, all power to him. I mean, my God.
Insane.
I think we can confidently say at this point, even though it hasn't been in sleeves, Colton is the strongest human being that's ever stepped on a powerlifting platform. It's not real what's going on right now. 965 double, his first 600-pound bench, he doubled it for fun, 500 kilo for a double strapped, and then a 2x1 hook. It's like, dude, this is like mythical levels of strength that's going on right now. When you're talking about a guy, you're saying, Ron, you're not that much of a beast, bro. 3 generations, you're going to be smoked. This is the type of thing. It's like, I don't know how many evolutions of man we will need for another Colton to come along and just do what Colton is doing now to everybody, to Colton. I mean, I know what he's looking for at this meet that's coming up.
Dude, because he did 12, 10 in sleeves, and the squat was depth. And the one thing I have, Colton doesn't always he doesn't always hit depth in some of his squat when he's doing like reps, etc. And I'm seeing like, God damn, this one he hit depth in, and he hits it in comp. So I don't know, some people train a little high and it'll be their meet day and people roll their eyes. It really is for him. In prep, 12, 10, that was depth. And that's fucking nutty.
Listen, he executes, okay? Especially if you know Tom Bro, right, his coach. As much as the value with Tom Bro's coaching outside of the programming's great, but it's relatively linear stuff, volume, like very, very basic stuff. It's his eye, his execution and form and tech, and that's where Colton's head is all the time. He eats, he takes the supplements, he does what he's supposed to do, but everything is based on execution. For some of that volume work, if it's not perfectly to depth, which it should be, obviously, but it's still relatively specific. A slightly high squat with a set of 8 with 800 pounds on your back is still pretty damn specific to 800, to a legit depth. I have not seen Colton, I have yet to see Colton take a single, anything close to a single, even like a double for the most part, in sleeves specifically. Wraps sometimes get dicey in training, that isn't just undeniably to depth. And there are people that doubt it. They're like, oh, it doesn't, he's neutral in the toes and he's wide. He has to abduct into the hole. It's impossible for him to hit depth that way. It's a very Australian way of squatting and wraps and all of this. This dude is dunking squats. There is no like argument about it. He wants to put up 1,003. He wants to put up 440 on squat here. And I know before he goes to strongman, he wants to bench 300 keys and he wants to pull like 520 to 550. Okay. That's not a real human being at all. And initially, when we did this podcast, Ron and I with him, not that we doubted him at all, but when he said this stuff to me, I was like, kind of laughing because I'm just like, dude, what are we even talking about right now? And then the guy just pulled 504 times in the same session, one of them for reps. It's like, I'm done even. I will silence the disbelief in the back of my head, even the tiniest bit of it, and just watch what he's about to do. Because he might do it. If he executes this, he does dethrone John on dots. That doesn't make him, in my opinion, the greatest powerlifter of all time. It takes a lot more to be the greatest in a sport. But undeniably the strongest human being that's ever stepped on a platform. You're looking at him.
All right. Let's hang there for 1 second here. Do you think he leaves after he achieves this? Yes. Like he's about to do this. Are we talking like he's lifting? Is he not lifting in like a week or something like that? Like, do you think this like already after that he's done?
I hope not, because he did. Ron, he told us 300 keys was on the bench cards, which is not there yet. I think at most he goes 628 at this meet, and that's if he peaks and takes all of the, pharmaceutical advantages possible, which I know he, is in that camp. Not that I shouldn't talk on any of that shit, but whatever. Guy's going to go execute this shit. I know he can hit his other 2 sleeved goals right now. The one goal that he said he wanted to hit before he left powerlifting, he can't right now, which is 300, which leads me to believe that maybe he goes and does this like, he's not far from 3K, being the first guy to total 3K in sleeves. But if he does this, right, where he hits the squat, hits the pull that he wants, I wouldn't see it being improbable that he does one more wrapped meet where he just tries to get really, really big and heavy and maybe slightly hurts his deadlift, I don't know, to get that 300 kilo in. And then he is straight to strongman, where I think his number one goal is to beat everybody on the deadlift. Right now, he told us, what did he tell us? He told us, what did he say? He told us he's like 130 right now, 125, like max. Yeah. He said he wanted to be 150 or something. It's like this guy wants to put on 60, 70 pounds. What does this guy look like?
How tall is he?
He's like 6'1". He does have some height, but
not for strongman.
Agreed. Most people, I would say, and you know that you used to do strongman, right?
Right. Well, yeah. And he Eddie Hall is like 6'3", 6'4", and he's like, I'm really short. Yes.
He's a midget.
Yeah.
The first time I found out Eddie was 6'3", I was maybe like 17 when I found out, and I was like, dude, what are we talking about right now? Because in strongman, right, the implements, it's not just the strength. It's like an Atlas stone to a guy with a 7-foot wingspan is not the same 100%. Thing as a guy with a 6'5" wingspan. But I'm not, I told you, I'm silencing that stupid little disbelief thing in the back of my head where when it comes to the deadlift specifically, we're talking about conventional, right? It's not going to hurt his leverages. It's not a big deal. We're talking about a suit. We're talking about straps. And we're talking about hitching. And we're talking about a guy that is already sumo hook repping 500 keys. World record 510 right now. Like, who is possibly going to tell this guy with all of those advantages and 60, 70 pounds body weight that he can't rip 530, 540? I don't know what that number ends up being, but takes us from like, 1,100 pounds, 500 kilo-ish, being this like human potential. We're just going to chip by a kilo, 5 kilo, 10 kilo, to being like, no, I'm going to put 40 kilos on this. Let's cross that 1,200 barrier. And I'll be like undeniably the most ridiculous genetic specimen of all time. He's insane, dude. That's why this John Colton, it would have been the coolest thing ever. And I hope it still gets to happen before Colton exits.
So let's say we lose him. What does that do to untested powerlifting? How do we make this so we have showdowns and, showdowns that the whole community is watching and gets everybody pumped up about?
So here's the thing, and I also want Ron's take on this. When we talk about Colton and John, without being rude, right? That is the only thing to talk about in Untested. Untested is in complete disarray. It's a nomadic, it's a horrible at the moment. I won't go into the, crazy minutia and lore of it. But when we're talking 2019, 2020, 2021, even like creeping into 2022, untested powerlifting, that's peak powerlifting. Like, that is my favorite. That's what got me into the sport. That's me wanting to compete with those superheroes that I was grateful to be able to compete with. But we had a legitimate route. You know it. We all know it. Coming up to hybrid, coming up to the Kern, coming up to the showdown, coming up to the American Pro 1. Those were insane, both in levels of competition, both in levels of strength and depth of the entire charts. We are now looking at things where it's like, this one guy might be with this one guy at this one meet if they work it out, and it'll happen. We're not talking about 5th, 6th place being impressive. We're talking about bar preferences coming in, leaving the sport. We're talking about feds falling and creating new feds, that fed falling and moving to different feds. It's in complete disarray. The one thing we do have is this Colton John thing, right? Outside of these, whatever, Jordan Long put on a great meet at the end of last year where we had Shane Haller almost pull a K. We had some really cool meets going on. But that route, like what I thought I would be doing at this point in my life based on 2020, like, this is what I want to climb to so that I can hit that hybrid Kern and this in the same year, and that'll be my competitive route, the way that these tested lifters have now with Nationals, World, Sheffield. Like, that's awesome, but we don't have that. So as of right now, we have this Colton John thing that aren't playing nicely with each other, right? John, all for it. Colton, for separate reasons, right? Money, family, whatever it is going to Siberia and doing this thing. Decided not to go the abs route with that showdown. What we need is a few things. Number one, we need, and I know it sounds ridiculous, we need a Garrett Fear. We need a Garrett Fear.
Gee, I didn't see this coming.
I swear, I didn't
Didn't see that coming. What the shit?
No, I'm sorry, in my head. Yo,
this is 2020 all over again.
You know the role that this man played.
Okay,
Nobody wants to talk about it because he's brash and, he's a very harsh, brutally honest guy. But he keeps things together and keeps BS out, which on the untested side creeps in frequently, right?
He did police.
That's what I'm saying. That's the portion I'm talking about Garrett, like needing Garrett here for, right? Is the guys that would run off to a random backyard meet and put up something crazy that might have beaten something that was done at the hybrid showdown. He was the guy that got the entire community to say, no, that sucks. I don't care that you did that. That wasn't a standard. That's ridiculous. And that encouraged any of these guys. I'm not picking on him. I love the guy and he's incredibly strong, but let's take like a Phil Herndon, right? Who does both. He goes to the legitimate meets, sometimes executes perfectly, and sometimes goes to those backyard meets and doesn't execute perfectly, but hits them. It would get Phil to show up at these big meets. And at the very least, even if these guys were running off and doing other stuff, at some point in the year, usually a few times, we had everybody under the same roof and being competitive. Now there's no incentive for that. There's no driving fed. There's no primary fed. It's just like, what's the difference if I go do this there, or if I go squat 2 inches high here, put 60 pounds on it? Nobody's going to call me out for it. It's going to be an open powerlifting the same way. That's what we need, is that root back. So the fact that untested, or the state of untested right now, hinges on 2 people doing ridiculous things. Like, not just like, oh, they have the potential to, but they have to do the most ridiculous things ever. Colton and John hitting these totals is ridiculous. There should be an entire side of powerlifting that's propping this up, that gets to champion these 2 champions. These 2 champions should not be ball and chain carrying the untested side. That's what we need, is organization. It's what tested always had on untested, but right now it's the glaring difference. Where back then I would say untested powerlifting 10 times cooler, in my opinion, than tested. Now it's not even like an argument. You're silly if you argue anything else. So I don't know what happens if Colton leaves, but I know what needs to happen, whether Colton leaves or not, and to bring this back to something that isn't nomadic, and that's holistically respectable, not just guys seeking out the best standard, but everybody being forced to compete to that standard.
Well, first off, for sure in 2020 range, I remember when you had like Larry Wheels, Steffi Cohen, these people were massive stars. Everyone knew who they were, mainstream. You hear their names on like a Joe Rogan podcast, and they were competing in untested. And it was like from the battle between Steffi and Marianne Kasparian, and it was crazy. For sure, there was a showdown.
Coolest thing ever.
That's a legitimate showdown. The Kevin Oak era and whatever. For sure, I remember that. This day and age, do people in the untested also carry this notion that this is broken, we need to fix it? Or are people on the untested now currently somewhat in denial, and that's why there is no one necessarily stepping up? I know Abs is trying to, and
Abs does a great job.
I know Abs is telling themselves something's wrong, and they're looking at what's happening in the tested side, saying we need showdowns, we need titles that mean something, we need people clashing on the same platform, blah, blah, blah. So I know they're not in denial, but in terms of like in general, do you think people are in denial? Like, man, fuck that. We don't need this, whatever.
Top of the pack? No. Middle of the pack that is really happy that were the guys jumping to these other meets to try and bump open powerlifting spots above these top guys doing it to standard. Absolutely in denial. I don't think they're actually in denial, right? And I shouldn't say just Colton and John. They're obviously an S tier thing that are just a step above everybody. But Kyle Curvey, my God, right? Yeah. Somebody like that. Sir Dave going through a bunch of health complications, but absolutely insane. Fernando Arias, Derek's coming back right now he opened up his gym. There's a lot of people that are here, just not under the same roof. Overall, the majority of untested, I don't think they're in denial personally, like in their heads, but they are very comfortable doing these kind of backyardy meets and saying, oh, well, there's no big meet. Like, there's no incentive. It's like these guys are getting what they want, with a guy like Garrett Fear always being there to say, I don't care what you want. Nobody's going to give you credit for that. And him being there, driving that general consensus of the community, is what kept everybody straight and narrow. Okay, it does matter at the showdown. Okay, it does matter at the hybrid showdown, the Kern. This really matters. It's a combination of dots and championships. It's got to be done as standard.
But my question is laughing over here. My question is this, like,
yeah.
Okay, so and this might be like click, you might say like yes, right? But I'll explain what I mean by it.
Yep.
The question is like, is untested even like savable in this, like,
my son, they're all savable. How dare you? My son.
Well, I know what he means. He has a very specific context to this.
No, so I don't know, right? Because like basically, like, okay, so as you said, like from 20 whatever, maybe like, I don't know, 2014, 2015, 16, 17, all the way up to like 2022, 2021.
From like Dan Green, Yuri, Pete to 2022. Like right
Dan Green, fuck.
So yep.
That was insane, right? Like that era of like Pete Rubish, like essentially like untested had so many like ambassadors and champions, to the point where like at that time, when you thought about powerlifting, you thought about the untested people before you thought about the tested people. right? Like I guess like
That's
Ray
fair.
Williams to some extent was around like, and at that point like the biggest stars in tested powerlifting before John Haack, Brett Gibbs era were like Ray Williams and Kimberly Warford, right? And they were nowhere near as big as like these
No way.
guys you just called, right? Like
Fair.
nowhere near as big, right? Like YouTube, I remember like watching powerlifting videos for the first time and it was Pete Robish. It wasn't, like anybody on the tested side. But I feel as if like in the tested side, because right now I guess like we in that like era in the tested side right now, right? And we have those champions in like Russ and Cranon and like whoever else is like
Rondell Hunt.
oh shit,
Yes,
yeah,
sir.
right, right, like Perk and Jesus and like all Keiko and like all these guys, right? But we also see that like while we have these like champions and ambassadors, we could also see the people coming right up to take it from you.
Yep.
So it's like it's not just like bro, like Rondell is just the best 120 ever, and it's like nobody coming for his shit. It's like Nonso 20 years old, like bro, like like
Yeah, give him some
coming
years.
in,
Yeah.
like so it's like if I were to like leave or like retire or whatever eventually, it's like there are people that will take my place. Elliott Sykes will take Perk's place seemingly eventually, right? And the same thing in every weight class, like Keiko, like Will Ball, like like things like that. So I feel like on the untested side, like we're not seeing that. Like there was a time, like, and I coach like a lot of untested guys, right? Like, with Brandon and like
Brandon, Shane, when they were all coming at like hybrid 2021.
yeah. It was
Yep.
like, okay, like, yeah, we had these like stars and like we had these guys like, okay, like on the way out. But then you could see like, okay, there's the next generation right here,
Mm.
like, but we no longer seeing that. It almost seemed like if the next generation and the old generation left at the same time. So it's like,
Here's what
I'm like,
I hear you. Okay. We've talked about this before. It's
yeah,
tough. But a few things to say before I answer that straight up. Number one, there will never not be a big community of, well, regardless of how niche it is, there will never not be a community of big guys and girls that want to take drugs and max out their lifts. That's never going to go away, right? In tested, right? And overall, we're talking about one of the most unpredictable sports in the world in terms of longevity, right? This is not fighting where you have a 3-4 year career that, okay, great. I had an insane career. I had a bunch of fights. I left. It's not basketball. It's not football where you get to compete every week. And we're talking about something that takes place over 10 to 15 years. Tested, untested, no matter what, the amount of variables that could take somebody away from that, it doesn't matter if you see, let's say, for example, Elliott, who I'm not saying is going anywhere, he's going to the moon, but there's a million things that could take him out of the sport before he realizes that potential and takes Perk, right?
Mm.
On the tested side in general, you have significantly more time to develop potential, right? You have these guys on untested that go from zero to hero out of nowhere, right? Not my personal advice or the way that I would personally do things, but you have freaks come out of literally nowhere. Where was Colton 5 years ago? You can go look on open powerlifting. It's about 1,000 pounds from where he is right now, right?
Mm.
These guys can pop up out of nowhere. We incentivize the same thing I was talking about earlier, right? With the organization. Without that organization, how are you going to see these guys up and coming? There's no route to look at, right? Who's to say that you would be seeing an Elliott or a Will or any of these kids if they weren't in these competitions, if they weren't competing at sub juniors to go to worlds, to then go to junior worlds, to then go to, you give Dylan Johnson, Chase Gravitt, all of these little kids that you just see like, oh my God, wait a minute. Give them 2 or 3 years. There's no opportunity for these guys to even compete in a spot that gives them the spotlight for us to notice that. There might be some random freak in the middle of Georgia right now, like a Jackson Powell out of nowhere, right? Who just retired insane. Was like 19, retired. But squatted 400 keys at like 18 years old. It's like, where the hell was that kid before he showed up to the showdown? That kid got 2,000, 3,000 followers out of that and a ton of notoriety. That kid was squatting 8+ since he was 14 years old, sitting in his garage. It's like these guys are there, and bringing that organization to untested is what saves it and allows us, like incentivizes people to go and realize their potential. And we can see this route. I don't know if you would have seen Shane. I mean, you would have seen Shane. Jesus Christ, what a freak. On social media, regardless, he would have blown up the way he looks and lifts and everything. But a guy like Brandon, you know exactly how low key Brandon is, right? Like, if Brandon wasn't pulling up to Hybrid Showdown or the Showdown or these meets, who's to say Brandon wouldn't be some random enigmatic kid in Kentucky, you know what I mean? Just lifting big weights. So I say the only way to save untested is with organization, which is easier said than done, but also not really. Just need the money and the right people in charge. The biggest thing is the right people in charge. I cannot be more upset with the decision making over the past few years from top administration outside of abs. But that's what does it. It's not the freaks, it's not the talent pool, it's not, any of that, especially in a time you're talking about what, 10 years ago, the untested guys were the guys that you were looking at in powerlifting. How unacceptable was taking gear by society, period, 10 years ago versus now? It's like, it's chill. Anybody can. You're cooler if you do it on social media. If you're open about all this stuff. I'm not talking about powerlifting, but general fitness, right? It's a huge trend. Being like, oh, I take this and I take this and peptides and all this garbage. People are so open about it. It's never been more acceptable. And if we had a route for these people to compete that was legitimate and that wasn't so esoteric that you didn't need to be so dialed in to know this was happening in Mississippi and this in California, I think we can see this come back. Not a
But
small
wait,
thing.
okay, but why is it that tested powerlifters buy into the whole idea of like, okay, Worlds means something, Sheffield means something, like everybody wants to compete under the same umbrella for the most part. Obviously, some people might still be USA pro,
Well, all right. Two
and
pieces.
untested lifters like tend to not, yeah.
Two pieces to that, right? When it was the real product, when we did have meets like Hybrid Showdown, the Showdown, Kern, American Pro One, things like that, everybody did, right? The product was there. The product is there in the IPF, right? On the tested side. IPF Worlds is incredible. It's marketed really, really well. The organization's incredible. Sheffield won, right? Just as soon as that hit, especially with Jesus doing what he did at Sheffield one, that made it 10 times bigger, to be honest. If Jesus did not dethrone Dan Bell, pick up the heaviest thing that's ever been picked up total wise to the best standard on a stiffy, natty, like we are talking about, whoa. Not only did we just have a level up in product as a meet, but we just had a level up overall as powerlifting, period. Like that's insane. Number two, why do tested do that? Maybe because because they literally can't go anywhere because they're chained to the IPF. That's a pretty big portion of it. And on the untested side, these guys, when the product was there, it was attractive and everybody got under the same roof. You saw it. We were there, like literally handling at these meets. It's the one time we got everybody there. And the second that went away, American Pro 2 was kind of the last. I mean, it wasn't really there, to be honest, but last kind of there thing that we had, it was gone. It's like you need people to spend money on a good product that's marketed well. SBD and the IPF overall, and you, Ryan, good job.
Thank you, sir.
Overall done an incredible job of marketing these meets and making it a route that looks like if you are not doing this, you're not powerlifting on the tested side. This is where the smoke is, and this is where you need to be if you want to call yourself a real lifter. On the untested side, not there anymore. There's nowhere to go. It's like as long as you hit it to standard, kinda, depending on the person, right? And depending on the meet, it's good. And then you have this small portion of guys that, like Ryan was talking about, are comfortable going out to these random backyard things and being cool with it. Those guys are going to give you all the praise, no matter where you do it. And then the top guys are kind of silent because they're just like, what the hell is going on right now? Like, I don't really have an incentive to compete outside of just besting my total. And what? I do it to standard and I get a pat on the back. Those guys get the same white lights. That sucks, you know? That's what I would say is like it just needs to be there for these guys to actually go. And Tested has done such a good job organizationally through some things that I'm not comfortable with, right? With Article 14 being ridiculous, and some things that I am super comfortable with great commentating, great marketing. Like you do this meet, you do IPF Worlds, and yes, you want to watch the live stream, but there are 4K great videos, edits popping up on the day. Like, it's like, oh my God, I wasn't watching this. I'm missing an event. There are dozens of lifters being posted right now. Let me get on YouTube and go watch this, you know? And oh my God, they have to turn around in 12 weeks, which is ridiculous, and do this at another meet. I'm going to make sure that I watch that. Is Russ going to be able to recover? Of course not. That's why he dropped, right? Like, all these things happen, and it's like, what is going on, you know? You guys do a really good job with the storyline, and there is no storyline. Untested is totally all over the place right now, and that's what needs to be restored for it to be a side, you know? Like right now, Ryan, I'm sure as a very unique perspective that you have, posting the best lifts of the day, you're not just like, oh, this huge total just went up in Untested, let me post it. You're like, let me make sure this was to standard. Like, what?
No, there's no question.
Before I give this credit, you know what I mean? And you don't have to do that at Worlds.
Also, is quickly, I think if they had a proper route, like you're saying, and they had an actual event, if they had let's presto magic, say there's a Sheffield, the talent pool will quickly arrive.
100%.
It doesn't take that long for freaks to emerge. The same way that tested freaks emerge, the same talent could just choose the untested route. Maybe even if it's fewer, but they end up like Larry Wheel, Steffi Cohen's style of massive and ahead of the curve. The talent will show. But to your point, until you have a place for them to go, they're not coming. No, but you're not winning. In terms of vying for the world's talent pool, untested powerlifting is not good. Is not a big beacon to vie for that talent pool. To your point, Johnny. And until that emerges, no. If that emerges, sure. If some kind of a structure is in place, if you get the structure in place, give it a couple years, you'll start bringing some people again. There's more people every day. People, it's not like weightlifting stopped, not like powerlifting and people taking gear, of course. I think you're probably right in terms of social norms. It's not all of a sudden a stigma now and it wasn't 10 years ago or anything like that. Nothing major has changed in terms of any of that. What has changed? There was no structure on the untested side.
Yep. Straight up.
That's the biggest change.
Which is crazy to me. I mean, my God. Like, if I got into this sport right now, which the first meet I signed up for was a USAPL meet, and then I was told, don't do that by my coach, which was not Ron at the time.
I was going to say, Rondell.
Yeah, no, it wasn't Ron. It wasn't Ron.
Rondell goes, get on gear. Okay.
It was Dawson. It was Dawson, who initially, my whole goal was to take Taylor Woolham's record, the deadlift record. And I was like, I don't care. I'll do it on a stiff bar. This will be fun.
Taylor Woolham. Jesus, he's throwing names
Another
out there.
guy, right? We're talking about all these guys. These are the guys. These are the guys that got me into the sport, you know? And I was told USPA meet would be way more fun, and your goal surrounds just an all-time world record on the deadlift. Deadlift bar gives you a better chance of doing that. It benefits my pull, all these things. And I was like, cool. That's where all of my guys competed at that I grew up watching. You know what I mean? Right now, if I was coming into the sport, there is not a question that I'd be going straight to a stiff bar, into PA, IPF, that whole pipeline, because there isn't even a comparison right now. We don't have like a superior product to an inferior product. We have a superior product to like if you weren't here 5 years ago, you don't even know what this is. Like, this is like silly, you know? That's it. So I'm praying. I don't care. I mean, I intrinsically motivated over here. I could not care less.
Well, that's good.
I'll take my shot when I can, but I'm praying that somebody is able to do this. And if I have to do it myself at a certain point, I will. I'm focused on work at the moment, but like I'm telling you, I've talked with Ron about it. If I got to do this in a few years, I will.
Well, I mean, yeah, I mean, well, first off, when you're saying Kayla Woolham, I remember when I had people like Kayla Woolham on, Dan Bell, Steffi Cohen, like all these people on, and like King of the Lifts now, people think like, oh, he always has people on the tested side on. It's not that I'm just picky choosy. Yes, I was on the IPF media team back then too, though. Like this, there's no difference. That's not it. It's literally that these people are all gone and they never got replaced. I Kayla Woolham on several times, man. Like this wasn't, I don't know, same with Dan Bell, several times. It's new that I'm almost all tested side because untested is all but shrunk up. And that's where we're at.
And you'll still post when things are when things are legit. That's 100%. The thing. Now sometimes you have some legit lifters doing things at illegitimate meets. It makes it hard to call it all, a spade a spade. It's like, all right, that's a really legit guy at a silly meet. Like, what do I even do about this? All the ab stuff, you throw it up immediately.
Mm.
Jack Myers hitting something ridiculous recently, you threw it up. When Fernando comes out, like, it's there. There's just not as much of it. And the guys that you're mentioning right now, even the guys on the tested side that are big right now, in my head, they're athletes. I know that's because partially they're my peers and now I'm strong too. And I look at but those guys, Kaylor, Dan Bell, Steph, you're talking about superheroes. Like we are talking about like Mount Rushmore, just like those guys are figureheads of not just powerlifting, but fitness, reached so far outside of powerlifting. And we're so responsible for growing this sport into, what it is today. We need those guys.
Is it true that Larry Wheels is coming back?
You know what, man? Larry Wheels is streaming with Rampage Jackson right now. I have no idea what Larry Wheels is doing.
It's crazy.
I know see, that tells you he was so successful in powerlifting. He's streaming with Rampage Jackson right now, just screwing around,
Yeah.
But he's one of those guys, right? When we're talking about we don't need a ton of years of really specific stuff built up to peak. If Larry, the freak he is, wants to hop on, I mean, not that he's not on, but really hop on, and put together 12 weeks with Gaglione, whatever, and go to an illegitimate meet and put up a ridiculous total, he will, like Larry's that dude. But him making that decision, I see him sooner, the way that he's going right now and just trending lifestyle wise, I see him much sooner hopping off completely, getting on TRT, having kids, and just making money and being happy doing that.
Yeah.
At this point, like everything, when he talks about training, it's all like, yeah, it really hurts and I'm light and I'm 300 pounds right now. I can't wait to lose 80 pounds. And like, it's a tough lifestyle to live when you have to maintain it just for social media. He's not like competing right now. And this dude's walking around 300 pounds busting out of his skin. It's like, what's going on right now? He's a freak. But I would kill to have Larry come back. Anybody, come give attention. Derek's coming back right now. And it's going to be obnoxious. Not that Derek is Larry. I mean, Derek's stronger than Larry by dots and total, I think, at this point, too. But that's something I'd kill to see. Like, Colton right now, out of reach for Derek, as much as I hate to say it, right? This squad and this, or not this squad, this, actually, all three. That sucks. All three out of reach for anybody, right? But if Larry comes back in, that's a nice head-to-head, We need these things. Like, we need the championships and we need the dots.
What do you think makes the greatest of all time? Because you had said it's not just dots, it's not just the title, it's a combination. But to you, what do you think would make the greatest? I'm going to throw this to Rondell in a sec afterwards too. But what do you think makes the greatest?
Both, John. Ed, right? Doing what Colton's doing right now, it almost can't be sustainable. Not that I want to doubt the guy that he'd be able to replicate this over the years. I don't know. He's clearly a different archetype of human. But you can't pop into a sport, crush records for a year, and leave and call yourself the greatest, right? It's the same argument when you're talking about Michael Jordan and when you're talking about LeBron. Now, Jordan did not just pop into the sport, of course. But the only argument that people really have with LeBron over Jordan, in my opinion, is the longevity aspect. The fact that he's been here for this long. Now he's stats padding and, whatever, breaking all these records just because he's been here for this long. And dominance over time is absolutely a thing, right? What if there is a guy that comes in and I'm completely wrong, everybody's completely wrong, in 2 years that's significantly stronger than Colton? Colton would lose to that guy in 2 years. You can't come in and flash in the pan, no matter how bright that flash is. You can objectively achieve strongest of all time with numbers and body weight, and that's non-negotiable as long as it's done to standard. This guy beat everybody. But replicating that over 10 to 15 years, beating new talents, new generations of talent that are coming in, right? Like Will Ball in the 93s right now. If there was a guy above him that was smacking him and was here 6 years later for the next Will Ball and smacked him, that's a totally different level of greatness, which is what John has done. John, all he's doing at this point, it's, in my opinion, why he competes outside of his competitive nature, why he competes as often as he does, is to be able to say, I didn't just do this once a year and have the highest total each year. I competed 6 or 7 times a year internationally, domestically against the best in the world, the best in the country, different meets, different bars, different everything. I explored the nooks and crannies, the corners of powerlifting and dominated everywhere. I'm the greatest. That's what makes the greatest to me is having the dots and longevity, I guess.
Rondell?
Yeah. So I agree with Johnny. So I think that like because the sport progresses and like totals don't necessarily like last forever, I would say that totals matter in the context of like that era, right? So I think in order to be the greatest of all time, it is important to some extent to be ahead of the curve in your particular era. So you don't necessarily need to have like the best total of all time 5 or 10 years later. But I do think that being ahead of your class um, somewhat significantly can be, 5 kilos, can be 10 kilos, being ahead of your class, being ahead of the pack to me, which is where like the dots on the total comes in, I think is really important. Because I do feel as if like longevity and championships and everything like that and battles and everything is important. But if you just always kind of like you're just basically scraping by every single meet, then how impressive is that? That to me at least is not like I like a level of like dominance, whereas like at least at some point in this person's career, yes, they have been tested, yes, they've been pushed, yes, they've been here for a long time. But there was also a time when this person was untouchable, and when they were close to being touched, they proved themselves yet again, So um for me at least, like a example of that would be like Keiko, for example. Like Keiko, for me, yes, he is the greatest 93 of all time right now. But a little like mark on his resume is that he, to me, like I haven't seen that like period of like, damn, like Keiko just like totally ahead of everybody here. Like he's just always been like right there, and he's always been the better powerlifter on the day to scrape
Mm.
by. So for me, longevity very very critical. Being ahead of the pack by a good margin is very critical as well. And just, who you faced is also like pretty critical. So, for example, Will Ball is a great start to his legacy and his resume to be able to say, like, okay, yeah, I did 920 at P and Nats, but then I doubled down with that with 930 against some of the best 93s in the world. So that's amazing for him. So if he goes on now and let's say he does 940 at Worlds against some of the best 93 kgs outside of America, then it's like, damn, like, like that just builds and builds and stacks. So yeah.
There is different eras though in different weight classes that your particular weight class, it might be that you're crazy dominant and ahead of the curve, or it might be you're from an era where that weight class wasn't very filled out. And then a few years later, it fills out with more talent. You see that ebb and flow sometimes in weight classes. That's why sometimes winning by big spreads, it might be indicative of that you're ahead of the curve, but it also might be indicative of that you're not in a very talent filled weight class sometimes.
Well, I'd like to add one caveat to that, which is progression over time. In my opinion, unless it's like a Colton thing, right? Let's say Colton puts up 3K in sleeps. Fine. You don't need to progress a pound past that, bro. If you can do that for the next 4 years and beat everybody, that's fine. But if you do happen to be just genetically superior, right? And something like, no shots at anybody here, right? But just a very specific example of programming on the tested side being like a flex style of programming, right? Where for the most part, you get these freaks, right? Like a Russ, like a Cranon, like a Jesus, like, any of these dudes. Jesus actually not being a good example because he's a super heavyweight. But these guys that are bound by a weight class, right? And you drill them with hyper specificity, which is for the most part what's going on in the programming. Where yes, things taper in different ways. There's some really cool strategies when it comes to tapering volume, but messing with sets and reps and manipulating things that way. But for the most part, you are drilling them with hyper specificity. They're going to get really good at squatting, benching, and deadlifting pretty quickly. You're going to watch this rocket ship rise in total. And if you are that genetic freak, where you arrive at the top of that before plateauing is better than everybody else. But then where that programming strategy really lacks is they don't know how to drive adaptation past that, right? So let's say you talked about an Amanda, right, for example, or a Russ before in the 83s. You see them rocket ship to this total. It's good enough to win. It's good enough to win for however many years. And then people start creeping up. And then there's all this talk like, oh my God, we're doing these things in training. You're not doing anything in training. Absolutely nothing. And then you're going to go into this meet and total the exact same thing. And that's when you watch these guys. The only way with this strategy is to go up. They go up a class and then they hit all of these numbers. Obviously, you gained a bunch of body weight. And then it's like, oh my God, he's back. Nothing's changed, right? So in my opinion, forcing adaptation, right? This is a weight class sport. Watching a guy like John, right, who consistently over the course of 4 or 5 years PR'd his total every single meet. Just chip, 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 chip. That's important too. Rocket shipping off of genetic progress and hyperspecificity when it comes to programming and plateauing for 4 or 5 years, not being able to best anything, but you're just consistently better than the pack and everybody's just like catching up to you, but you can't without gaining 20 pounds. I don't think you can be the greatest there either, which is a specific caveat, but an important one.
Interesting. What do you think about that, Rondell?
That's actually
Sorry, go ahead.
amazing point that I am like fully on board with because like um so like Amanda for example, right? Like we were talking about Agata coming back and like possibly pushing Amanda and stuff like that. Again, one of the like marks on her resume is that like yeah, you've been the best, but it's like powerlifting is about progression, is about like pushing the envelope, right? It's about like constantly pushing the limits of what has been done in history in this particular like division, right? And if you are the best, then you should be the one always doing that, right? So like when Perk hit what was it? It was 851 at USAPL Nats 2023. And he beat Taylor Atwood was 838.5. Yeah, he was a little bit heavier, but he beat it, right? It was like, damn, like, is this the greatest powerlifting performance of all time, right? What would make him great looking back on it is at that point, we thought that was the greatest powerlifting performance of all time. For him to triple down on that and then come back with 892.5 is otherworldly. And then like let's say in next year, later this year, or in even if it takes another 2, 3 years, right? He comes back and it's like 930. It's like, well, like he's the man, so progression is critical. It doesn't necessarily need to be like you don't want to hold someone to the I guess standard of like you must PR every meet or you must PR every
No,
year.
no, of course not.
Because things happen, right? But like even with Jesus, for example, like it was nice to see him put a kilo on his total from 2023 Sheffield, so you can't just stand on one performance and you can't just stand at that level. Also being able to show that, yo, that was nothing. Like I could, like I could push past this makes it even more so special.
Okay. So, I mean, I got a million things to talk about, but we're talking about greatness. Tell me why you prefer dots over world titles.
Ron?
No, that's your question.
That's not just my question.
Ron, tell him why, Dot.
All right. So here's the thing, and this is a personal thing that I know Ron shares and I know Bob shares as well. We've deep conversations about this. And I think it's also why when you were asking earlier, like, is it nice that Bob's there? Like, what if Bob wasn't there and it was just a crazy difference, right? Which, in my opinion and Bob's opinion, right now, it is still a crazy difference, right? There's no day where, like, on strength, if they both execute, that it's neck and neck. But Bob, Ron, and I share this mindset that it's all like powerlifting for us is about maximal strength. And Colton, right? It's about pushing these limits and getting, I don't know, I'm not a John, right? I will never stand at the top of open powerlifting on the squat and the bench. The fact that I have the genetic potential to do it on the deadlift makes me the happiest person in the world. And that is my chase. I don't care where it's done, as long as it's done to standard, that's it, right? And ideally not replicating this once, right? But what Colton's doing right now, just pushing. you can't help but just like, what, dude? Like, I don't care who else is on that platform. It doesn't matter who else is on that platform. And if you reach that dots, right, that ridiculous, that John level, right, where now we have some guys in between, right, where Perk, I think Perk's dots was what, close to 640 or something? Something
Uh,
like that, right?
I don't know.
Whatever, came in. But for the longest time, there was almost nobody on the men's side, which we've kind of neglected talking about the women. That's my bad. But 661, right, where John was at before his 666 dots, there was almost nobody dotsing 600, like literally nobody. And it didn't matter who was going up against John. John's worst day at that level was not even close to coming second place. Like it just wasn't a thing. Having that dots, having that dominance, no matter what is going on, is just a different level of goddamn, you know? As cool as it is for there to be depth, like, great, let's have depth. Be able to say,
You know what?
secondarily, yeah.
I think I have to ask a question. Sorry to stop you. I think
No,
then
please.
I misunderstood entirely. So it's not actually dots. You're talking about the dominance in performance, not actually the formula
Isn't
of
that the
dots.
same thing? But isn't that the
No.
No, of course not. Dots is just our current coefficient, the best coefficient or good lift points, whatever. It's our best way as power lifters. I can't just say totals, right? Because then what are we talking about? A 400-pound man, right? I'm talking about absolute strength levels, executing on absolute strength is what I'm talking about when I say dots.
Yeah.
Okay.
Dots is really just an expression of how strong you are in relation to your like body weight. And it's not
Yeah.
perfect. But if it is we were to say totals, then it's like all of a sudden Elliott
Now
Sykes
it's not fair.
yeah, it's like that, like, you know.
But
So,
okay. So we're just talking because I'll tell you right now, if you talk to almost anybody in the IPF, they don't even know what their dots are. They don't even know what dots are. They don't know, and
Well, they know what their good lift points are, right? Which is their coefficient that they're choosing.
exactly. And then
Yeah.
if you went back to when I first started commentating, the good lift points and even it was Wilkes. And so the formulas keep changing. That's why. So we're not. It's not necessarily you're saying like I attach everything to formulas because.
Oh, screw
Okay.
that. Ridiculous. Yeah.
Okay, you know what? Fuck, this isn't going to be as fun as I thought. Then we're not actually.
'cause I'm right.
Oh, shit.
Yeah.
We might be on the same
I'm
page.
telling you, bro. There's no way.
We're on the same page. All right.
Yeah.
Okay.
You know, like Ron's 1045, for example, right? Like the fact that those guys weren't there, that Bob wasn't there, that Nonso wasn't there. What would have changed at that meet with
Yeah.
Ron's? You know what I mean? Nothing. He would have expressed
Like
it. It would have been
like when
bad.
Taylor did 838.5 and everyone went bonkers. It was like, oh my god, did you see what Taylor? He was so far ahead of everyone. This wasn't a pull for he was forced for his last pull or whatever the shit. Or Jesus at Sheffield. To your point,
Exactly.
I got you.
That's it. That's the whole thing. That's all that's it.
Okay, so no, I think those moments are special as well.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes I I love a riveting battle as well. I don't know who's going to win right
Me
to
too.
the last end. Yeah. Bullshit, man. I think we just
Like
full on
John
agree.
Brett, it's not to say that championships, which is very important to say as
Yeah,
well,
yeah.
that it's not like this is the only thing that matters. Championships suck. Who cares? Like, it's like,
Yeah,
no,
yeah.
that's cool. Battle of the 93s with Chance, all of that. The 66 a few years ago or 2 years ago, whatever it was. Brett versus John. Like, those are sick, sick moments. But they just don't beat destroying somebody. Like, you know what I mean? Like, that's it. The strongest guy is the strongest guy. And at the end of the day, to hit that dots, it'd be different if it was just absolute strength and just straight up force production, but it's not. It's executing and actually transferring that to comp standard lifts. And if somebody does that and they're just miles stronger than everybody else, that to me is what keeps me in the sport. That's what got me into the sport. That's what I looked up to when I was 10. And to me, that mindset is also what usually yields the best athletes in the world. When you ask the strongest guys, they're like, I wasn't chasing him and him and him. I want to be the strongest guy in the world. And that's what I'm chasing. And that's what leads to dominance.
yeah. And I think Johnny also isn't like to the extreme of like a Colton where it's like, okay, like my performance alone matters, so that means that I don't need to compete on the same platform as like the best.
Yeah, no.
Like
No.
I think he wants everyone together on the same platform.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, it's about like who could express like the greatest level of strength.
Yeah.
Well,
If
look-
everybody was under the same roof and John and Colton, I wouldn't be like, damn, but did you see that battle 4 places under him? You know, I'd be like, damn, John
No.
and Colton. You know what I mean? Like, whoa.
Well, the context of our entire conversation before this, you laid out. We got to be all under the same roof. We got to have like battles. We need structure, which helped add. That's why when we were talking about all this, I'm like, hang on a second. Let's talk about this dots thing. And I'm like, I don't think we're as far apart given everything you've said
No,
previously.
certainly not.
And then you're like, no, who gives a shit about dots or Wilkes or IBF? I just mean,
what?
I'm like, okay, well, all right, okay, for sure.
They were flirting with like Z scores or something a few years ago. USAPL was whatever messing around with something that's even slightly more even and less skewed on the extremes. It's like I'm all for if we could find a perfect coefficient, which is impossible, that would be incredible. I want the perfect coefficient. What that coefficient represents, regardless of what's currently in place, whether it's Wilkes, good lift points, or dots, that's what I'm talking about here. Being that pound for pound coefficient.
What I do like is, so the extreme is if it's the Colton side where he's like, who gives a shit who else is in the house? If everyone took that stance, you end up with untested right now. Unfortunately, if it was like that. And then obviously the other side is, just straight up battles but they're all, let's say they're subpar and there's somebody outside. That's the extreme side and the other side. And hopefully in the middle you have like IPF worlds where the strongest in the world are all competing there and there's battles all the way through and the odd freak amongst those freaks will give you a, what the hell is that performance where they're ahead. Yeah, exactly.
That's
okay,
it.
Well, shit, man. Well, this isn't that spicy
We
after
can
all.
shake hands 2 years later on that argument.
Yeah, God. It is what it is. It is what it is.
Deal.
Yeah, and in terms of like the greatest, that's a hard one, man. I know what you mean where you have like the Mike Tyson effect where he was at 20 years old, the heavyweight champion of the world. By 24, he was already damn near washed up. And then he lingered on, but was never fully that pinnacle of what he was. And then you have the George Foreman who was 48 years old, still knocking guys out and the number one guy in the world. And it's like, what the shit is happening right now? Hard to say. That's a tough one when you start doing like, he shined brighter. This guy shined at the top for longer, but then he had really tough fights, and some of them, I don't know, maybe he didn't win them all. In terms of powerlifting, I don't know what the direct equivalents are, but that's a little bit tougher of a one.
It's hard. It's nice that we do have objectivity. We have more objectivity, like track and like swimming. We do have numbers, which is nice. Who knows what would happen, right? Mike Tyson, George Foreman getting like it, it's crazy. A lot of debate around all of these things, but I think that's the general consensus would be you need a little bit, right? It can't be like a Colton's a really specific example of somebody coming in and just boom immediately. And if he dips like with one sleeved meat in the books, it's like, how do we even, it's almost like a perfect, really extreme example to debate. But in my eyes, greatness, there's a little bit more to it.
How about this? Because untested has sleeves in wraps, but it's already, the talent pool's not deep. If you could do one thing, and this could be unpopular, this could be whatever, but if you could snap your fingers and be like, I'll throw everybody, has to be in sleeves. Do you think that would help amalgamate everybody or make it?
Of course. What are we talking about? Wraps have been dead for years.
Dude, why do you feeling the same thing, Rondell?
For sure.
For sure, bro. Like there's no internationally, it was more competitive, right? Like where especially when you're talking about abs, right? In Ireland, you're talking about Colton being out in South Africa and competing in Australia, New Zealand, whatever. Cool, right? There's still some competitive stuff going on in wraps, and there was. But sleeves have been here for I don't know how long in the US. I mean, when did we stop caring when it came to wraps outside of all-time world records, right? Like Dan Bell's 2606, that was awesome. That was incredible in wraps. I was standing on top of a mono in hybrid watching that, and it blew my mind. I didn't care. I just saw 1,100 pounds on some guy's back, But outside of those just beating all-time human potential, hitting all-time world records, nobody really cares. As soon as in untested, the likes of Dan, Yuri, Pete, whatever, stopped competing in wraps and stopped going head-to-head in wraps, and everybody that was competitive started competing against each other in sleeves, the place to run was wraps. It's like, okay, I don't have to compete against those guys, and I can still pick up some prize money, which at the time was the only place you could pick up prize money was on the untested side. Before the Pro Series in the USAPL, it wasn't even a thing. Ghost, I think, last year or maybe 2 years ago, the sleeved winner, well, John, won whatever the top prize pool was, and the wrapped winner was outdotsed by John by I don't even know how much and picked up the same prize. It's like, what are we doing rewarding people, using equipment that allows them to lift super physiological loads when they're overall weaker than the guys doing it in sleeves? It's another way to divide. It's another, this bar preference, that bar preference. You're in sleeves, you're in wraps. Everybody under the same roof, organized, streamlined powerlifting overall. I'm okay with multiplying. It's almost a different sport. It doesn't even garner the same people. You know what I mean? Like, you're an equipped guy, cool. But there's a ton of guys in sleeves that are like, oh, I'll do wraps for this meet. That shouldn't be an option, in my opinion.
God bless. I'm 100% on board. Yeah. Well, I mean, it's for sure. It's dividing us.
Ryan, I have a question, right? And this is when I thought the whole like dots versus championships thing was gonna get spicy, I came up with this question to ask you, right?
I don't know if you premeditated, bro.
It is. It's written in my phone. It's written in my phone.
Yeah.
Who is closer to being the greatest 93 of all time? Will Ball or Ellis McLean?
Or Ellis McLean?
Johnny, I don't know if you know who Ellis McLean is.
I do, and that's awesome.
Okay, cool.
But remember, we had this conversation earlier, my man.
Mm-hmm.
There is definitely a pioneer wing and a modern wing. I'm an MMA and I'm a boxing fan. If you want to ask me, is John L. Sullivan up there with fucking Muhammad Ali? I'm going to be like, what are we talking about? Well, let's talk about titles though. Let's talk about titles won, dog. But there's a difference in time periods too. LS won with 820, and 820. It's like they're playing. It's like if you look back at a basketball game from the freaking 40s or 50s. It's not all the same, right? There's definitely a development phase for powerlifting. And that was in the first 5 years. 2018, LS McLean won. 2017, LS McLean won. 2012 was the first IPF Worlds. This is very developmental years. So you're talking about a developmental champion and comparing him to modern era. So that's loaded. That's a loaded question for sure.
But if you weigh that out, if you weigh those out, because I think he's asking it on purpose for the
for sure. Oh, for sure. Oh, for sure he is.
Because for me, right, Will, no way, right? Love the kid, think he totally has the potential to just continue clipping these along and call himself the greatest. But at this point, it was 2 meets, right? It took his total at the meet at Catalyst, and then this was that would be asinine, right? To call anybody the greatest after 2 great performances, that's great. And if he keeps doing this, incredible.
So you would say LS, Johnny?
I would have to, for sure. If you're weighing that out, out the entire talent pool at the time, you can't say the greatest, bro. Okay, neither guy is going to be the greatest, but if you asked me whose career would I rather have, would I rather be a 2-time world champ in LS's era, or would I rather be a national champ in this era? I'll take 2-time world champ in LS's era, and then for the rest of my life be like I'm a 2-time world champion. And then none of it's going to matter. Everyone in the world right now, it won't matter except for 100 people, or more than that, but except for a niche, it won't matter in the bigger scheme of things. And in his time, in his era, he was the number 1 in the world. And faced the number 1 in the world twice at the world championships and beat them all. Whereas Will Ball hasn't done that. There's people else in the world in this era that are like, man, you haven't beaten me yet. And Milk Crash Steps somewhere listening to this podcast being like, I can't believe I'm the reigning world champ. And Rondell used Will Ball as the question in this. This is what I'm saying. If you're talking about an Emil versus a Will, what do you say? Now we're much more apples to apples, right?
Yeah.
Somebody that's current, relatively similar strength level. Would you say right now, because Will had 2 great meets, would you say that he's better than Emil?
Absolutely not.
No, of course not. But
no, right? Of course.
But he total heavier. He total heavier.
Yep.
Yeah, I use LS because it's
the perfect example.
Because it's disrespectful is what it is. You son of a bitch. I'm just joking. I'm just joking.
Perfect. Yeah.
And then the gap in resume is also so great. So it's like I couldn't think of a better example, to be honest.
It is good.
Although, yeah.
I know your point. Will Ball is 110 kilos ahead of LS. LS won the world championships with 820. On the flip side, LS was the number one guy in the world back-to-back years. And like, that's a pretty good, like, how many people could say in your era, how good were you? I was number one in the world back-to-back years, 2-time world champ. All right. Sport progressed past me. It is what it is. Right. But I don't know. But if you do this too much and you go too far back, you'll start getting into the pioneer wing where if you say, okay, how about this guy's 2 world titles versus that guy's 2 world titles, and there's a 10-year spread in between them, I'm going to start asking about the eras, like quality of opposition. All things being equal, they're both 2-time world champs. Like if Will Ball ends up winning 2 of them, and you're like, all right, now is he parity with LS? I'd be like, well, let's start talking about their eras. How tough was that era and blah, 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 which happens in every sport, by the way. They all do this in every single sport. Be like, yeah, that was
fair.
Soft. Yeah.
So okay, so where's the line then? So if Will Ball was to win the world championships this year, would he bump LS or would he need 2 or what would he need?
It really would matter. Like if this is where, because 2-1, it's close enough. If you said, and I would have to, I don't even remember everyone that LS beat at the time. Oh, David Coimbra. Anyways, it depends on, you would look at it like who was around in your era when you won and who did Will Ball beat head up as well. And if he faced like a murderer's row, like I was talking about, there's some soft eras where it's like, yeah, the talent pool wasn't very deep in that weight class during that time period. Like who did you beat in your time? So that matters a stitch too. Numbers matter, like number of years matter, but it starts becoming a bit of a complex discussion, I think anyways.
Yeah, for sure.
Kind of sort of depends. Look at my man here with that. You came in here with some waiting to drop that one.
Stirring the pot.
Yeah.
Yeah. Though, that is something that I would love to see happen right now. Is at the risk of it sounding like hating, which I'm not, because I literally I talk to everybody that we're talking about, Will Ball, whether it's Elliott, whatever it is. I was helping Elliott with Hook, all these things, right? I want to see these kids just run with their careers and continue to be undeniably the greatest, right? But I do think that a danger that comes in on your side of things, Ryan, and when it comes to the IPF and Sheffield and marketing these up and coming athletes and current athletes, is putting things out like, they're the greatest, or this is insane. Look at this kid, blah, blah, blah. And getting these heads big, right? Part of the reason why John's the man outside of what he does is, like I said earlier, he doesn't talk. The dude acts and he lets everybody else prop him up, right? He does his performances and everybody makes it undeniable, right? These kids running around talking crazy, bro. You know they're talking crazy. Like the things coming out of some of these kids' mouths, I'm like, Jesus Christ, like I want to root for you so bad. You're making it so hard right now. You just put up the sickest performance ever. I'd love to see humble champions coming back a little bit more and speaking with action and then making it undeniable to where we get to say greatest of all time. Not a confidence thing, not a shot thing, but you know what I'm saying? Or no?
Well, okay. Let me throw this out there. I think we need both. And if everybody didn't talk, it would be bad. We wouldn't.
What if everybody's talking?
Yeah,
it's bad.
It's
bad.
Not talking. Besides, that's what I'm saying. Tell me who's not talking.
No.
I'll prop them up. But like at the top 10 of any class, bro. I'm the best. I'm gonna come in 10. Like,
no, you got guys like Emil and Gustav and Kaiko who are. There's a lot of people who aren't.
You literally just named the 3 only people you can name. Those are the.
Dog, I'm good with it. I'm sick with it.
I'm sick. Awesome. Agreed. I love all 3 of those guys so much. I love Keiko, especially Gustav and Emil, just because Keiko doesn't post that much, story stuff. But Gustav and Emil post all the time, and it's just, here's my training. Watch me. I'm a world champion. And everybody gets to say, you're the coolest, most humble dude. You look at a class like the 120s, where you have literally the top 6 guys saying 1,000, nothing. I'm going to come in here at 1050. Winner. 962. It's like, yo, this looks dumb. Like, just let people talk. Like Nonso, I'm gonna pull more than a half Thor by the time I'm 21, and I'm gonna do it hook at Worlds after a maximal squat and bench. It's like, yeah, you just pulled 904, 916. That's incredible. Let everybody prop that up. You don't have to call all these crazy shots, bro, because you're doing crazy stuff. And it only diminishes it when you say all these crazy things. And that's definitely a personal opinion. And I literally love everybody I just named. Those are not shots. This is because I love you guys. And I'm like, yo,
it
it's
comes
so
off
much
okay.
cooler to just fucking do it and be like, yeah, I did that, you know?
It comes off genuine. You're not coming off like a hater, just so you know.
Yeah, I
but
hope.
it comes off genuine. But it is a good discussion. I would say, like, honestly, for the longest time, we didn't have people putting their chest out talking. And it really does get traction. It works. Like these people like Nonso that you're mentioning get it's tons of followers, tons of people
Russ was
repeating
one of
what
the
they
first.
said. So I don't know. I agree if you're in a room and everybody's loud as shit, you're annoyed and you leave the room. If you're in a room and nobody's saying nothing, you're bored and you leave the room. I do like a mixture in the room. Is it an error right now where there's too many? I'm not sure. Maybe it's because I got it doesn't bother me. Like I'm like, I take it naturally putting filters and be like, right, you're doing what you got to do. I'm not sure. Rondell, what do you think? You're in the middle of this. You've probably at times been both, right? You were clapping back and forth with Taylor. You guys were, you've been involved in this. What do you think?
That was ridiculous.
It was
Yeah,
awesome.
that was crazy. I think that was like my like first
Peak.
like rivalry.
That was your peak right there.
Literally, like it's been downhill since that. Like
Yeah, bro, your biggest rival was a 75.
That's right.
no, but yeah, I just feel like if like too many people, as Johnny says, just like call crazy shots, like um it's sub super heavyweight on the tested side is only me and Bob that have hit 1,000 kg plus, right?
Mm.
How many people have claimed 1,000 kg? Dev, Nonso,
Gavin Aiden.
Tony
Gavin
Cliff.
Aiden,
Tony Cliff.
Tony Cliff, Anthony McNaughton, Keenan Lee.
Anthony's gonna do it, man. I'd be careful.
No, so he will.
Oh,
He
yeah,
will.
yeah,
He will. He
Yeah,
will.
yeah,
He
yeah,
will.
yeah.
But I'm just saying, like, he had two opportunities, well, like one real opportunity, and he didn't. So, and like everybody was like high on him. So it's just like, you know, and I think the thing that people like about Anthony was the fact that he never used to call shots. And then he called a shot and he didn't follow through. And it's like, you know,
Damn. I want to see Anthony at 120, but that's a separate conversation. But
every single time I've heard Gavin Eden mention 1,000 kg, I've been pissed off. Because I'm like, bro, stop saying
Nah.
like
it's just so unrealistic. Like,
you got to know where we're coming from, right? You know what I mean?
No, listen, I love Gavin. I love Gavin.
No, we're not talking about Gavin specifically. Just an example
know.
of what we're talking about.
Oh no, period. All right. In terms of calling shots, I swear to God, even at the local level, if you ask people in the gym, they're gonna have some crazy fucking numbers, and you're like, all right, man, that's like a 75 kilo total that you're putting on. Like, there's no, it's crazy. I don't know what it is with powerlifting. That's what people do. In terms of calling shots, for sure, people overestimate what they have, or they'll have like a banner PR day and act like they're semi-disappointed. And it's like, what did you think you were going to post up on that day?
Exactly.
Like,
the biggest one every time. Because I'm like, what did you think was going to happen, bro?
Yeah.
There was a kid. I don't want to call anybody out. That's
don't say his name.
He was confiding in me, but I was just like, bro, like, please don't do this. Like, you're PRing all your lifts for reps in training right now, and you're calling numbers that are 100 kilos above this. And he's already strong. It's like, bro, this isn't it. And I think it's because delusion's a really important part of the sport. It carries you far. That initial, like an Elliott right now, right, who's just this initial rocket ship progress before you inevitably, no matter what height this happens at, you crash into reality and hit the initial plateau and then force adaptation and then career-ending injury that you rehab from and come back up. Before all of that, right, there's this that's super important to capitalize on. And mindset-wise, you have to stay in that pocket. But that's when the older guys, the veterans, were always here to be like, yo, 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 like a Garrett, right? Being like, yo, relax. But now the older guys on the tested side are doing the exact same thing. And it's just like the whole sport is like, what is going on, bro? I've seen you hit the same total for 5 years in a row. Why are you going to put 120 kilos on it this year? That makes no sense. Like, that's what's going on. It's frustrating to watch. It makes me like, when I used to be so excited to open up Instagram and read some of these quotes and watch these clips, I find myself turning them off 3 seconds in because I'm like, Jesus Christ, another guy doing that. Like, where's the just like cool guy? Where's the Johns? You know, like John doesn't say this stuff.
So for the most part, I'll agree. But I do like, for instance, when Perk said 900, I'm picking 900. And it was no bullshit. He did 897.5 in the gym. And it was like, can he be the first to do 900? And it was a round new milestone for his weight class. And he came like within 10 kilos of doing it. This was no bullshit, kind of shot in the dark here. And it's like, holy shit. Or Joe B hitting 900. And it's like, he's saying, if you could pick your shot and it's real, people want to follow you. Rondell is going to, yeah, that's a great, like Rondell's going to attempt to do. And you're like, fuck, really? He's going to be the first to ever do it. Do you want to be the first? Do you want to see who does it first? And then that actually helps. But to your point, when it becomes everybody and the mother's trying to make like it's not a round milestone, it's not something big, and it's just I'm going to throw 20 kilos on top of what my max attempt is going to be able to be. It's like, all right, like I'm just going to subtract 20 kilos off everything you say. Like we all have to do this now.
It gets to a point where it's like it doesn't build hype because you just kind of stop believing it.
Yeah, you do it in your head.
It all loses meaning. It's all just like, oh, that realistic guy is saying the same thing as this unrealistic. I'll just wait until the meet and watch, you know? Like
exactly like when like Jaden Lowe, for example, he said like, okay, at nationals, like if Joey B comes in cooked, like, you know, like I all over that, like I think I had 900. Because so many people call shots and like with Sheffield, the way that went and everything like that, I genuinely went into like nationals thinking like, I don't think he's at 900, and he wasn't.
But like, I honestly think it's not crazy for that kid to have said he did 873 and he'd only been competing 2 years and put like 40 kilos on his total in that year, in one of the years, and he's only 20. It wasn't, look, a 900 would be a stretch, but it wasn't super crazy because his progress was nuts. Actually, it's more than 40 kilos. He progressed like 60 kilos in 2025. And he's like, man, I think I could cover a 25 kilo spread or be in there and around. I don't think it was that nuts, but
I think I can definitely pick specific examples where it makes sense to say things. But as a general consensus, predictions are different than calling shots. And then after missing shots, your attitude towards calling your shots say a lot. And if you do hit them, what you say afterwards says a lot about your character. It's this overall lack of humility across the board. Whether you hit the shots and afterwards you react like an ass, that doesn't come off cool. Or if you hit the shots and you just go, yeah, I just did that. Like, that's cool, dude.
Like even Elliott low-key was calling 892. And I was like,
he didn't believe it though.
For him with the squat, the 345 squat or the 340 squat that he wanted and all of that.
Yeah, like he was saying like, oh yeah, like I might be at open wheels. And I'm like, you are not going to be at open wheels.
No.
You just need a guy to just be like, Elliott, you are insane, bro. Like, oh my God, are you so gifted and you're so strong. You're doing all the things right. But like, let everybody else elevate you to the Perk conversation. Don't do it yourself or it takes away from everything you're doing. Like, it's so pure right now. We're watching you in this rocket ship little progress period. Let everybody else say it's going to carry you past Perk. Right now, just go put up the second highest stats of all time on the tested set, which you just did, and let everybody praise that. Now there's a camp of people just being like, oh, well, he didn't beat Perk. And it takes away from what he did, which is incredible in the first place.
Who do you think by next U.S. Nationals, we got ourselves a real clash between these two, or we got to wait longer?
That's
a tough one.
No, here's the thing. I mean, listen, it totally depends on what happens with Elliott's progression over this period of time. But Perk, You watch that 750, dude. Like that was not difficult. None of this was maximal. The deadlift debacle was the most ridiculous thing I've ever seen. Ron and I recorded a podcast on it, and I did not edit it and post it up, but our Sheffield podcast, that was insane, right? Immediately, what he was looking to do, if he took that, I talked to Joe, his coach, and if he hit that on his second, which he obviously, judging by his third, would have, can't say 100%, but totally in the cards there, they were going to load whatever they needed to take John's dots, which based on his training with the 350 and all of that on the pole was there. It's like, that's not Perk's potential at all. Perk could have totaled more than 900 at that meet. He had more there. He didn't hit his third bench, which he's incredibly capable of doing. We've seen it in training. And he's not a guy that just takes bench days and trains, really above weight or anything like that. He has SPD days. It's incredibly specific where his training looks like what it does on the platform. Perk's not done. The bar's not set for Elliott to pass it. Perk is bumping. Elliott would have to go through the most ridiculous period of hyper progression on top of the most ridiculous period of hyper progression that he's already had to make it a conversation. They will be here. Putting a timeline on it is crazy. Like, I don't know. Perk might be done by the time that's there. Maybe he won't be. But a year would be insane, bro. That's
Rondell,
crazy.
what do you think? In a year, is it possible?
Is it possible? Yes. Like it is
Agreed.
possible. Is it probable or is it going to happen if I had to say? Um, I would say within a year, like once all goes well, they're both healthy, they both, like training well, making good progress. Um, I would say I think Elliott would be good enough to like keep Perk on his toes. Like
Agreed.
Perk isn't gonna be able to come in and like, do what he did at like Worlds last year or whatever. Um, he's gonna need to come in at his best. But to say like is like a toss up, I don't think next year is the year for it to be a toss up. Like I think probably needed like a couple years on that again.
I mean, he has him by what? Like 50 pounds on the squat right now, ish. Something like that, right? Like
50
28.
kilos. We'll call it 50 kilos. Total.
No.
Total.
On
Total.
on the total. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Right. And on the bench, they're right there, right? Like the one thing where Elliott's coming up, it's legit. Um, but the pole, it's more than 50 keys ish. Like if Perk has this pole that's 350-ish, 355, creeping up on 360, like we're talking about a very big difference, and we're not just talking about keys. It's important to contextualize these numbers when you're talking about the difference between a low sevens deadlift and approaching an 800-pound deadlift. Those are two very different things. It's not the difference between 5 and 600 pounds. It's not the difference between 700-pound squat and a mid-7 squat, which I do think Elliott catches up on the subtotal. You want to talk about something that I think will happen in the next year? It's Elliott making significant progress on the subtotal and that looking much closer. But he's got work to do on the pole to make that a real head-to-head.
I'm just pulling up.
The numbers.
Yeah, pulling up the numbers right now. It's difficult because Perk sandbagged all of 2025.
No, Ron and I were frustrated.
So
like, come on.
he hit his, like, it's very difficult to tell progression. Just came out of nowhere. And because, yeah, he did 343 at Sheffield. And then to your point, we did have that debacle at deadlifts.
Yeah, which is
so then
totally, that's legit. I mean,
like we've seen it. That's legit. That was no excuse. So where will his top end pull be? And then
tough. And he's getting on nutrition now. He's never been on top of his nutrition. He eats out. He does whatever the hell he wants. And then a few weeks out from the meet, he just decides to not eat out. And because of anxiety, will like reliably lose a few pounds and just be there. But for the first time, he's dialing in with nutrition, which is a massive factor when it comes to any sport and when it comes to our sport. An even bigger factor. He could totally recomp and just come in like a different guy. There's a lot. So you have to give the benefit of the doubt to the guy that's proving it and the guy that has proven it. And this is for everybody to say that Elliott needs to catch up, and he's doing it. He's the one guy. If Elliott was not here, what are we talking about? Like, it's not even a thing. You know what I mean? And I am a huge Elliott fan. Elliott knows I am. I talk to the kid at least once a week. Like, love the dude. I want to see him beat Perk. but I will give him that credit because I love him when it makes sense to give him that credit, not just because of a hype train that's partially marketing, partially reality because of what he is doing, and partially because of what he says. It's like, it's got to be there. And if you've been here long enough and know the sport, you know when it's there.
How about this? I got $1 million on the table. I need you guys to bet this $1 million. 3 years from now, who's the pound for pound king? Perk?
Well, between those two, right?
Yeah.
Jesus.
1 sec. I need
Sorry,
to.
don't get
Rondell's got a time machine. He's asking.
Oh, damn. 3 years.
$1 million.
Oh,
Fucking $1 million.
that's so hard.
Now, in 3 years, $1 million won't be $1 million, but I'm gonna index that to inflation.
Just
I'm indexing that to
inflation.
inflation, Rondell. That's what Rondell's doing. He's crunching numbers. What's $1 million in 3 years? That's what he's doing right now. He wants to invest
Okay,
it.
so
Oh, Jesus.
I think that I'm going to give it to Perk, right?
Woo!
I'm looking
Hey,
at the
Playboy, I'm posting this, and people are gonna come back in 3 years, and you know this.
Wait, how old is
He's
that?
20.
Is Elliott 20 or 19 right now?
19. He's
Or what?
turning 20 in a few weeks.
All right. I'll explain my thought process here.
Okay, let's go.
All right. If I was gonna say Elliott, right, it would majorly be because he's not filled out in the class, right? But he's close. When you're 19 years old and he is not a pudgy little 19-year-old melting ice cream cone, the kid looks like a beast. You know what I mean? He is like almost maximally recomped for that weight. And something I say overall, I was having the conversation about Nonso in this context. When he's 19 and he's a 120 and he's talking about, oh, in 6, 7 years from now, 8 years from now, I'll be the king of the 120s. Like, you won't be a 120, bro. If you're powerlifting, whatever you are at 19 years old, you are objectively stunting your growth, not growing into the next class, right? You should be by the time you're in your late 20s. So I would say at 75, if they're both sticking at 75, Elliott has to stunt his growth so much to stay there that maybe I give it to Perk. But if Elliott can figure out a way to grow, right? We're talking 3 years. We're talking going from 19 to what? End of juniors, 23, right? Something like that. That's a period of significant growth in anybody's lifting career, if you're actually about it, right? Not just being 19 versus 23, but if he's training the way that he currently trains, I think I went from a 1350 total to a 1951 total in that period of time, right? Like, things happen in that period of time. God damn, bro. I can't say a name. That's so hard. I feel like I'm discrediting one or the other without saying it. But like, Elliott can do it. I will say Elliott can do it. But at 75, probability wise, it's probably Perk with the weight class constraint.
Yeah, I just looking at like knowing what I know about Perk and that he has the ability to like dial in more.
Yeah.
And like, perfect like a water cut and everything like that. Because for Sheffield, he weighed in at 73.3, which is pretty light. Like you could get like a whole pound on that and still be within the
Did he water cut for that?
No, I don't think so.
No, he just loses weight. Yeah.
Yeah, so that was a fairly light weight, and then to still put up that performance. I think if he does dial in more with nutrition, cutting protocols and everything like that, I could see him holding on to it. Just because Elliott, as you said, like he is, I wouldn't say he's capped, but it's not like he has like 5 pounds, 3 pounds, 4 pounds to
No,
play
he's
with.
lean and he's jacked for his class, and he's like right there, 74, 70. He makes all these jokes. He posts the scale and is like, oh, I'm too heavy. It's like, no, not right now, bro. What are we talking about? But we're talking 3, 4 years down the road where your goal is to grow. And the fact that it's irresponsible to be cutting more than what at that body weight, that's an incredibly low amount of pounds to be like 3% on a water cut. Can't grow that much and water cut successfully. And we have no idea what happens when it comes to him, like, undergoing traumatic. It's just different, right? People cutting and recomping have all different stuff.
Does this help? Perk is damn near a lifetime 74, including when he was that age. Let's take a look at Perk. I'm going to pull up Perk. Perk was a 74 Yeah, like forever. When he was 17, he was so when he was 16, he was 66. So I'm just saying, if like he did it, he stayed 74.
66.
He was a 70 at 17. He was a 74, and he actually filled it out though. He wasn't fully filled out 74 until he was like, we're talking 21ish, 20, like around 20 years old. But so anyways, he stayed 74. You're right though, Johnny. I'm not saying that like people do gain weight, but some people do stay around that are about the same size-ish, or they can hang on. There can be. I know you're trying to find.
Yeah, but Perk also, a few things. I mean, number one, when you're talking about like 17 Perk, 16 Perk, you're talking about like Tim's on yoga blocks underneath the feet to hit the ground.
Oh yeah, underdeveloped programming for
sure. We're talking about like a very underdeveloped Perk.
Yeah.
Probably worse composition. And we're also talking about a guy that underwent hernia surgery, and for a period of time was not able. Eating up has never been Perk's thing. Eating up and gaining a bunch of muscle. You're talking about a guy who's perfectly leveraged. He is a pocket rocket of a lifter. Like, Jesus, is this guy perfect to lift these weights? You know, Elliott is on top of nutrition. Elliott grows. Elliott recomps. And I'm not saying that his strategy couldn't change, but I would imagine that a decent portion of his success that we're seeing right now can be attributed to the way that he approaches things nutritionally, recovery-wise, where he seems to be holistically more on top of things from an outside lifting perspective than Perk does to achieve what he's doing. So I'd imagine that he needs to kind of keep this up to a certain extent. This will happen, right? He'll continue progressing. But whenever this stops, which could be at a height that beats Perk, I don't know. But let's say it's not, right? It's plateau time or it's major injury time or whatever it is, something that's inevitable in his career. I'd imagine the tools he's going to pull is, yeah, I'll rehab. Yeah, I'll do my stuff. But if I really need to progress, I'm going to eat up. I'm going to get bigger. It's not going to be by a crazy amount, but it'll be enough to the point where I'm not a 74. And maybe that means he will be the pound for pound king, but as an 83, beating Perk as 74. But in this 74 like conversation here with a kid being so young and Perk being an exception to most people's rule that whatever body weight you are at 18, 19 years old as a powerlifter, you will not be that body weight in your late 20s. I'm comfortable saying at 74, it's probably Perk. Elliott can do it though.
$1 million,
Such
Rondell.
a diplomatic answer, but
$1 million, Rondell.
Perk.
Whoa, okay.
I will say Elliott.
That hurts my heart. I feel so bad. It's
like
stop.
You guys are horrible. And this kid loves King Lifts and he loves you guys.
He's
and
the
you just
man.
crushed.
I
No,
love
you
that
crushed
kid.
him. You crushed him. And it's horrible. He's a kid, guys. He's a kid. You know what?
He's a kid. He's also the man.
he's a jacked kid. Okay.
Yeah, damn jacked kid.
Yeah, I would
Do
say
it, Elliott. Prove me and Ron wrong. Like, shut us up. Go.
Yeah, that would be amazing.
Like, please, bro. I want you to do it, but I'm being asked a question of probability right now.
I love that you guys actually will answer though. Some people will avoid and not answer. I tell you what.
The reason we start our podcast. This is just,
That's right.
It's all BS, bro. Like,
No BS. No.
Yeah, that's it.
I think Perk is the king. Undisputably, he's the king. I think Elliott is going to be the king. And I think it's going to take around 3 years. In 3 years, if I think Elliott, I'll pick Elliott. Fuck it. Let's do this.
Do it.
I think eventually it's going to be him. I think eventually it's going to be Elliott.
I agree with you.
And I think in 3 years' time, it's enough time. And that is a hell of a run for Perk, by the way, because that'll be about, he's been the king for at least a couple of years now. That's a 5-year run for Perk. To be the pound for pound king for half a decade straight in the sport is wild. Actually, that's freaking longer than Taylor had.
Yep.
Damn.
And at a significantly higher level, like we're talking about.
Yeah.
Disgusting.
That's pretty, but yeah. But I mean, fuck, it's a tough one. But
It will be Elliott. It's just the arbitrary timeline thing gets tough. And,
yes.
But I agree that it will be Elliott.
Unless somebody else comes out the woodwork. But with everything we could see right now, he's obviously the heir apparent. How about this one, guys? Agata's coming back after suspension in, I believe, November. Maybe she can compete in December. She's got a choice to make now. Previously, we were thinking, well, you got to go after Amanda Lawrence. That's the one. Amanda's been on top forever in a day. And nobody's ever come close to Amanda Lawrence. If you can go to 84 kilos and beat Amanda Lawrence, she's won a 76 kilo world title. She's won a 69 kilo world title. She'll be the first man or woman to win a world title in 3 different weight classes. And you do it on top of that, defeating perhaps the most successful powerlifter of all time in Amanda Lawrence with all the different world titles she has. Whoa, what a mega showdown. Until Cranon just arrived. And all of a sudden, everybody's talking Cranon. And she did 629 and slept walk through bench press. Easily. And she's only 6 kilos off of Agata's all-time best 76 kilo performance, 635. Now Cranon has an opportunity to win worlds, go to Sheffield, and uncork, let's just say for the fun of it, she uncorks what we all think she does, out totals what Agata did at 76, and has people thinking, holy shit. This is a lady that not through any formulas or anything, just head up, kilo for kilo. Can she contest Agata? Oh, by the way, her following is ridiculous. We're talking huge for powerlifting. Now you're Agata. And you're sitting back. Let's say everything I just said about Cranon happened, not just the U.S. national win. I pose to you that, that's not going to stack up to Amanda Lawrence and a 3rd weight class world title. But what route would you go if you're Agata?
You have to go Cranon. In my opinion. Have to. And here's the thing. I can't, Cranon shares a lot with me about her training that she's not comfortable. She likes people not knowing about her training. So I'm not going to divulge any numbers going on in training here, but I can tell you unequivocally, without a question, she has significantly more than she put up on the platform here. Okay. And on the bench, when it came to that squat, right, I can say this, we were talking about that hyperspecificity when it comes to the programming happening. All Cranon did was start belt squatting on her own volition. She decided, I'm going to do my own little leg accessory. She put on, what was it, 60, 70 pounds on the squat? Like nothing. And that's what you did on the platform. I'm not going to tell you what you did in training, but more, meaningfully more, easier than it was on the platform. Bench, you're talking about a 280 bench. She's benched 292 in training easily. It's like there are so much there. She's consistently at weight. It's not like she's cutting for anything. Her nutrition's not dialed in. She travels all over the place. She has all of these fitness obligations and sponsorship, whatever, all of this stuff. And her deadlift was also pretty much a walk in the park. People will talk about a little hiccup at lockout. That's consistent, right? That's a result of sacrificing, right? She wants a little bit of rounding off the ground to maximize her leverages. She is inevitably going to have to correct that at lockout. There are a ton of lifters that do it, and she busted through that with this, what was it, 579? 570 something, whatever her final pull was at this meet. Also wasn't too difficult. If Cranon squats even what she did in training and benches 300 pounds, she becomes almost impossible to beat with that squat and that bench, right? Agata beats her on the bench, but if she can just bring it up to not too shitty, right? Like just good enough, she becomes unbeatable for anybody there. And for somebody like Agata last year, any of the past years, thinking it's impossible to beat this person, just a what the hell, this superhero came out of nowhere, and to so quickly have somebody that people were initially discrediting, saying, oh, she's a social media, whatever, blah, blah, she's an influencer, come up and challenge that. You have to own your class, especially if Cranon does what she is about to do. I'm helping her up her bench right now on the accessory side of things. If she benches this 300 plus at Worlds, she will take Agata's total. And if Agata does anything but come back and say, no, I'm Agata, I'm beating this, you're running. And that's just where this is at. I think we all know what Amanda's going to put up. Not in a mean way. It's an incredible total. But, she just PR'd her poll, I think, recently. Or maybe it was her squat by a little bit. But it's not, Amanda's not taking a big leap. Amanda's total will be there next year. You got to stop Cranon on this rocket ship, or it looks like you're running from the class, in my opinion.
I also saw those videos. I'm also not going to say what they were, but everyone noticed my tone in the preview show, and all of a sudden I was like, holy shit. And everyone's like, what did you see? And I'm like, trust me,
Yeah, and it
It's
was a miss
crazy.
load. She didn't even mean to load it. Like it was
Yeah.
like, Jesus, what the was that? It becomes impossible to beat.
What do you think, Ron?
So I didn't see these videos, right?
Okay.
But yeah, I think from Agata's perspective, like unfortunately, like obviously she has this like period of like time off. Um and in that period of time, like I could attest to like because you're not competing and like as Matt Gary would always say, like powerlifting is like a show me sport, right? So it's like because you're not competing, you don't have the opportunity to showcase what you like where you're at. Like, yeah, you could do it in training, but it's like at the end of the day, what ends up on open powerlifting is what we go by, right? So you need to do it on the platform. So if Cranon goes to Worlds and does what she's capable of, which more than likely she will do, um, there is no like that whole Amanda thing was like a side quest, like that's like a yo, these 63s, 69s, and 76s aren't good enough for me. Let me just go with somebody who's like way heavier than me and like just out total them. That was a side quest. But if your territory is being encroached on, you need
Mm.
to protect the homeland before you go away. Like so um 76 for sure. And like if she could out total Amanda as a 76, even better. Like why not do that,
Great.
So yeah.
Could be all on the table. Both these ladies, if what Cranon wants to do in her trajectory holds firm, I mean, I don't even want to say it. I don't want to.
No, don't. Just watch.
I know.
Let's
Yeah,
not
yeah,
say
yeah.
shit. Just
Yeah.
watch what she does
Yeah.
because it's going to be incredible. And Agata is that girl. You want to talk about a humble champion? There you go, right? Somebody that just comes up, does their thing, is quiet. Agata's one of my favorite powerlifters ever, right? Especially for that reason. On the tested side, she's my Christy Hawkins, if you want it, right? Whatever. Um, that's the coolest battle you could possibly have, especially with this weird political caveat where Cranon has this period of time where she can just and catch up, and then Agata has to come back. That will be the coolest meet ever to watch them go head to head for. But for somebody that has been called untouchable, deemed just a different level of freak for this generation, I can confidently say she's not, in the fact that there is one other person that can play ball. And
Isn't it crazy that there's like never there's a Sith Lord and a Jedi in the same universe now, and they got a battle.
awesome.
Right? They got a battle. That's what just happened right now. It's like we thought there was one, and oh fuck, there's two of them.
It's awesome. Colton and John. It's the coolest thing ever.
And you're 100% right that now Cranon has the opportunity to grow. Do what she's going to do at Worlds. Go to Sheffield, and my God, she'll win Worlds unless some 76 comes out of nowhere because Carlina moved up. And Agata's not there. So she should be able to win and not have to extend that world record. So she'll probably win it, keep her weapons a little bit holstered, and then at Sheffield, just drop it on them. And when she drops it on them, if she goes all in, whoa, buddy, everybody is going to look towards Agata. They need to buy Agata a ticket and have her front row and get a camera on her.
She wants to be. She's about it. She's not.
Oh, Hunter. Oh, she's not. 10 toes down. 10 toes down.
Ron, you're the only guy that can relate, bro. Like, I swear, in the entirety of powerlifting, to being this guy that just head and shoulders above the entire class and just being kept. And just like, all right, like, this is going to happen. Like, this is, could you imagine if during this period of time, you watch somebody just like, whoa, boom. And then this year, when you get unbanned, time for you guys to go head to head. Like, that's the position she'd be in here. That's sick.
Yeah.
That would be. That's what was supposed to happen with Bob, actually.
I know.
I was gonna say Bob's listening to this right now and be like, it did happen. What are you talking about?
No, bro. Bob's literally one of my favorite lifters, and honestly, my favorite guy in like the whole sport. His mindset is what we were talking about, that strength mindset. Me, Ron, and Bob understand it's one that's going away, and it's sad because it's my favorite thing in the world. Like, people care more about calling themselves an IPF world champion and leaving 30 keys on the table. Like, that's not where I'm at. That's not where Bob's at. That's why Bob picked the hardest challenge he could possibly pick, which is chasing Ron. 105s, reigning at 105, to be honest, relatively easy pickings for the guy. The guy can just I mean, now Anthony, great.
Yeah.
Now
But
Anthony,
no,
yeah.
no, yeah. But I'm thinking back when he was a 105. It wasn't hard
Yeah.
for him, when it was like, oh, Bob v. Ashton. It's like Ashton should not be a 105. He's great. But we just saw what happens when Ashton weighs in at 110, 111, and he has the potential to squat 410 plus, right?
That's insane.
That's
That was
where he
crazy.
belonged. That was the most ridiculous. It was one of the coolest lifts I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah, that was
But
crazy.
Ashton doesn't belong there, right? Ashton is a guy who chases that maximal strength too. It's sick. And this could be one of the coolest showdowns that we've honestly maybe ever had. Definitely ever had, period. If Cranon does this, which I'm in full belief that she's going to do this, it'll lead to one of the coolest showdowns of all time.
Yeah, I try not to think like besides Sonita and Brittany, I like would this
That was my
eclipse
favorite. Oh my
would
God.
this eclipse Sonita and Brittany?
In
I
my
mean,
head, for sure. Because you're talking about the two strongest, like by coefficient, like these are just the two
Yeah,
strongest.
like
of all.
they're like two Floyd Mayweathers in their prime clashing.
Yeah.
They're the pound for pound queens.
It's like, what's going on? And to be fair, which I think, and this is totally fine if other people don't agree, I understand if it's offensive to some people, but there's a certain weight that you get to where the weight's being lifted. I don't care how light you are. Like, that's not more impressive than what's going on. But these women are not lifting light stuff. Like, we're talking about mid high five squats. We're talking about encroaching on 600-pound deadlifts.
Huge weights. Yeah.
Low to mid threes bench. Like, it's not like Sonita and Britt are just, crazy. I had, which I will say, Sonita 700 pounds is like the coolest thing I've ever seen ever. But Britt's pull at Jeff, that was my favorite thing I've ever seen in my life. That might be my favorite pull ever. They don't even talk about, oh, you were the one talking. That was all-time world record
Yeah.
attempt, bro. Like,
Yeah.
across
It would have beat
all beds.
it would have
was
beat Tamara Walcott.
Yeah, and it was conventional and it was ripped off the ground. I mean, we are talking vertical shins, somebody who is not crazily favored to deadlift and just ripped off the ground. If she can hold that, I have no idea. It was ridiculous. But yeah, I do think it eclipses it, to answer your question. Sorry for the tangent, but yeah, I do.
Who do you think is the number one super heavyweight in the world between right now? Britt, Sonita, because obviously Sonita beat Britt head to head. Britt is the reigning world champion. And then let's have fun and throw in Tamara Walcott.
Not Tamara. No way, bro. Tamara is not, no. That stuff is garbage. Some of it's great. But what she's been doing recently, I'm going to take a world record attempt at my gym and I'm going to host the meet and things are soft and you keep your 8-inch nails on. Like, no, that's garbage. If she does it to standard, cool, but it's yet to be done to standard. I would not put her in that conversation with these two women.
Okay, I agree. I just wanted to do that because we got you from the untested. You're giving a lot of love to the untested. You know a lot about the untested. Want to see what your opinion was. I'm glad we're on the same page.
Oh, I love powerlifting. I am not an untested champion or a tested champion. I feel I bridge the gap pretty damn well.
Good.
Give credit for me.
That was a test. You passed.
It's just the standard. That's it.
Right,
it's the standard, and it's not done to standard. There's no way. That's garbage. Especially when you're talking about like a Brianni Terry, right, or a Christy, or a Samantha Rice, and they're watching this stuff happen. Brianni at the time was the one who held the all-time world record dead when Tamara decided to host her meet for herself and do all of that. And I'm watching it with her. We're on FaceTime and she's like, what is this? Like, I'm like, I don't know. This is sad. This is untested nomadic activity. This is gross. On that side of things, them going head to head is the coolest thing ever. I think Sonita with the 7, like, what do you say, Ron? Who's the better super heavyweight? Like, I don't know. Like, I'd want to say Sonita just because of the 700, but as a balanced power lifter, I pick Britt. Personally, 300 kilo squat is insane and gets overshadowed by 7, but that is ridiculous.
Yeah, I was gonna say Britt as well. Just because like just in terms of like overall raw strength, like Brittany is clearly the stronger like just individual. And Sonita, like even though like she had the higher total 751 versus 750, I just feel like recently watching Sonita is like it's always a toss up, like with the squats and stuff like that. Like you never know where you're gonna get. Because I think what like two of her squats were like red lighted at Sheffield to open on a second, and then they both got overturned good, right? And then the third one was red lighted and didn't get overturned. That is that right,
I
Ryan?
can't remember now, and I was commentating that.
Yeah, I was about to say, I think that sounds right, but I don't know.
That
Yeah.
sounded right. Let's just say, you know what? Fuck it. Yeah, that
Something
was
like
right.
that. Yeah.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah. So I just feel like Britt just has like the strength, like clearly just like across the board. And for me, even though Sonita has the world record total, it might be crazy to say like it's just 1 kilo. So I'll probably give the edge to Britt, which is crazy.
Well,
Great.
Britt wasn't looking to just beat her, like load up.
Yeah, she was looking to destroy. Like,
Yeah. So we didn't see her talk. So then it's a bit of a, you're trusting your gut. Do I think she was stronger on the day? If you told me you did, I could believe that. And then between the two of them, like they just go back and forth. Like it's crazy. One wins, the other wins, and they both have their time on the top. That's a tough
I
one.
just want her to hold so badly. I want to give her my hands for her third. Like it's just like, please hold on to this because the strength is insane. I have no idea what she has strapped up. Like it was a disgusting speed on that. Yeah, I think stronger. It has to be Britt.
And Britt came this close to taking the all time. She would be
Yeah,
the apex predator. Tested or untested, the biggest total in all of powerlifting. God
Really?
bless. Yeah.
I did not know that. Okay.
yeah, I think
That's
I
super
think her
badass.
last pull at Sheffield was for that because it would have given her 760.
Yeah.
And
It would have beat Tamara and been the biggest total tested or on. She would have done exactly what Jesus did year one.
Yeah, that's disgusting.
Yeah.
I don't even know.
And she came that
But
close.
to be fair, the one to dethrone is Christy on untested women's side, right?
On
You
like-
have like Samantha and you have them coming up, but
Yeah, yeah. Oh, you mean on like formula or whatever?
no, just on Dan Bell being king of the untested, Christy Hawkins on the female side of things, just king and queen. of
Gotcha,
that,
gotcha.
Which I guess you know
Britt-
what? Maybe
I
not.
think
'Cause John
Britt-
would be. You're right. You're right.
Yeah, yeah. Britt's out totaled them, I think, already. But how about this?
Yeah.
Is Christy Hawkins 44?
Yeah.
Yeah, bro. Christy Hawkins is the biggest freak. She SSB squatted 605, paused like a week ago. She's insane. And like not even a real person.
That's crazy.
Yeah, she's got longevity. How about this? Let me ask you fellas this. Who's got the better resume? Kjell or Taylor Atwood?
I will go with Kjell.
I was gonna say Taylor, just because. Okay, this isn't anything against Kjell because it's obviously obnoxiously impressive and he is insanely strong. But some of these things, and this is just a personal thing, when somebody, I don't want to say cheats something, he didn't cheat anything, but when it's like this, I'm supposed to be a certain body weight, and I am just one of those guys that can perfectly manipulate like this down, weigh in, can perfectly come up. My platform weight is much higher than what I was doing, and I'm getting these like ridiculous championships and coefficient numbers based off of the fact that I happen to be somebody that cuts really well and comes back up. That's a part of the sport. He should be doing it and should be taking these titles because of it. But because of a personal bias, I'll go with the guy that reigned at his body weight and that like was consistently just really, really dominant, not having to go up or down classes or anything. He just stayed and reigned. I'll give it to Taylor.
Why do you pick Kjell, Rondell?
Because me and Taylor still have beef.
Hey, you know that
That's
I
why.
beat with him harder than you, bro.
That was 5 years ago. Because me and Taylor still got beef. You, because I'm not over it yet. That's why.
No.
You and Kjell have beef now, bro.
That's right.
We do
different.
actually. Kjell called me out because he passed my nuts, which was crazy.
Did he
Anyway.
really?
He did. Because
Dog, you gonna
I
pull
saw
up on him at
good-
Worlds?
Bro, he weighs 120 pounds less than Ron. Talking about a coefficient. Are you out of your mind?
That's right.
he's half my
What are we
body
talking
weight.
about?
It's insane.
Yeah, bro. What are we saying?
Anyway, but yeah, so I pick him just because of the Sheffield. So he won Sheffield, then following that he came second. To me that's super impressive to be able to like podium at like two back-to-back Sheffields in the same weight class. Because he if he just had like that one slick like 66 win at Sheffield, I would have probably agreed with you, Johnny. But
Fair.
because he did it twice,
Mm.
and he had like a great meet at the second one as well and lost to, the greatest tested performance we ever saw on the male side, which is Perk. I that's basically a win.
Yep,
So
that's legit. Yeah,
yeah.
I got you.
He also, a couple of other caveats. So he's won world championships in and out of equipment. I don't know if you guys are big equip guys, but he also, though, won the world title in 74. He beat Taylor head up, first off. Then he won a world title, obviously, it's 66. He broke a world record deadlift as an 83 when he was still an 74. He moved up to 83 just for shits and giggles, broke the world record, moved back down. I mean, he's been around since, I think he won his first world title in equipped like over 10 years ago, still reigning now. So he's been around, he's been competing for almost 20 years. There was a time when the IPF in 2012 had their first world championship, the World Cup. Previous to that was only equipped, and he was winning world titles and breaking all these records and whatnot. Like, he's been around forever. Let me pull him up real quick. I don't think, sorry, he wasn't winning world titles yet. He was, but he was on the
2007 did his first meet.
his first meet. When did he win his first title though?
In the IPF.
World
20.
Championship. So he won in 2013. Won a world championship. He won. Fuck me.
Damn.
I mean,
and you know
he was
what? When you're talking about those years, you're talking about years where equipped holds a lot more weight.
Oh yeah. Like we're talking. This is 13 years ago. He's still around now.
Different
He's
sport.
still around now, kicking people in the teeth, going second at Sheffield. Like we're in terms of like progress. When I was telling you earlier about LS
changed my
McLean.
answer.
Okay, there we go. Boy. So I like a guy who doesn't who actually is willing to change his opinion upon new information.
For sure.
100% appreciate that and respect that.
That's great. That's cool.
Because when we're talking about Ellis McLean, 820, and I was saying, wow, the pioneer wing and blah, blah, blah. Kjell was a pioneer before, like this is way back in the day. And in 2026, for him to be a shoulder to shoulder with Perk at Sheffield is like, what? And he is so far ahead of the other 66s at like an old ass man with no hips and blah, blah, blah. So anyways, I think it's Kjell. I think just the longevity wise, the amount of world titles, and he's got a direct win over Atwood. When he won his title in 2017, he beat Atwood straight up. So
I'm familiar with most people's game. I was not familiar with your game, Kjell. I will give it to you.
It'll be Kjell. And Rondell's like, man, I just man, fuck Taylor though, huh? Rondell knew none of what I just said. He's like, honestly, I was just like, man, fuck that other guy. And that's when I was saying Kjell's resume, Rondell's like, oh shit, really?
Yeah, that does sound good. Yeah.
That does sound good. I don't sound petty after all. Okay. All right. Fellas, I can't believe it took us 3 years to do this. We're fucking crushing. We're already at 2.5 hours. We got to do this more regularly and do like give our views on the game. After a few big comps roll around like Euros, US Nationals, Worlds is coming up. Let's hop on here and start giving our opinions and make it regular.
Oh, awesome. Just let us know. We're in.
100%. And we'll probably do as many podcasts as you guys do solo together.
For sure. We did stay true to our word. We did only do a couple more.
That's true. Yeah, you did not lie. I didn't think it would take 3 years, but neither did we. Nobody in the room did. But I super duper appreciate you guys coming on here. Let's freaking do this again. I'm gonna drop this bad boy. Give me a couple days because I got Elliott Sykes. Johnny, you're not gonna like what he says, but.
I know, and I feel horrible, but I gotta say my truth because I love the kid. I gotta be honest.
But however, we'll drop this bad boy and let's stay in the DMs, fellas. When some big news hits and shit, let's hop on this podcast and let's talk about it.
Love it.
Sounds
Thank you so
good.
much for having us on.
Beautiful chemistry, gentlemen. Great conversations. We got to do this again. And for everybody listening, as per usual, please do subscribe, give us high ratings, and until next time, 6-pack Lapadat, 6 up, and we are out.